Alrighty. We're here. Jason Keller's already in the chat. This is going to be a rough
Chat's
one.
popping. The chat is
Yeah.
popping.
Yeah, there's already several people that's been waiting apparently, so that's cool. Thank you guys so much for showing up tonight.
Legends. Straight up legends.
Yeah, this is we haven't done an episode in about 3 weeks, so glad everybody showed up. Yeah, you can blame Sky for us not recording last week, but that's fine. As always, I'm Jake, and we're out here. Oh yeah, I did it this. I did it this time.
You did it, people. This man just ripped and flipped the tin and cracked a tin. What the frick?
That's right.
What is happening? What is going on with our intro right now?
We're changing it up.
What's up, you guys? I am Sky. Hail the scales. Peach throat passion.
He can't twist it.
I'm twisting my ripping tin tonight, you guys. I'm slacking. All right. I've had 6+ energy drinks in the last 24 hours. I didn't need another one tonight. I'm going to try to be responsible with my heart. It's already fluttering. So mainly from all the legends in the chat. But hey, fucking cheers, mate. Fucking king.
That's right. Well, thanks everybody for already being here. James Perry from JS Exotics, you were here super early. Hopefully you're still here. And Chai's Spicy Spoods. What's up, man? There's another Jake here.
Oh, Jake.
What's up, Jake? Chris from Reptiles and Oddities. Earl's Exotics. Jason, Hunter Lister. Jason Keller.
I know those guys.
Robert Lance. Brendan Meyer, however you pronounce your last name.
It's Meyer. It's Meyer.
Is it Meyer?
Mayer.
It's
Mayer.
What is it, Brendan? You gotta tell us, man.
It's Mayer. Oh my God, the Schuler just popped in, bro.
Whoa, hell just froze over.
Isn't he supposed to be out hunting mudfish right now?
Mudfish,
not mud snakes.
I don't know nothing about no mudfish. Meyer, see?
Yeah,
I told you it was Meyer.
Mayer.
Zach, what's up, my guy?
What the heck? What is everybody doing here tonight?
I guess everybody was waiting
on the Thursday.
Oh man! Oh, Dirty Sanchez is here. What's up, baby? All right, so we're having a few technical difficulties with our guest this evening. He just popped back in, so hopefully all is good. But I don't know. Should we go ahead and bring him in, just announce, and then we'll do the intro, make sure he's good?
Why are you throwing these obligations?
I don't know. I don't know what to do. We've never had problems so far.
I say we fucking run our program and we'll find out in 20 minutes
okay.
If it's good or not.
Well, guest, we're going to keep you a secret for now, and we're going to run through our write-ins real quick. And we're gonna get into this. We got
a lot of fucking excited write-ins right now. These people want to hear shit on the fucking pod, man. We gotta give them their moment, because people been out there flipping while we ain't been ripping, you know.
Hey, I went road cruising and I did find some stuff, so that was. Oh yeah, I guess do you have any updates? Anything to bring to the podcast?
Nothing herp wise. Unfortunately, still just been caught in the summer days. There has been a couple nights recently that looked pretty prime. I just haven't had ability or time to get out, unfortunately. So there's need to get out very, very soon. I got the itch so bad. It's more than an itch, it's a rash. It's a festering rash. And
I mean, you're still planning on coming to the house next weekend, right?
I should be there.
Cool. Weather's been really weird. We've had a lot of cold evenings, or I should say chilly evenings and mornings. So I went road cruising last weekend. I think I went Friday night and started the drive off a little rough.
Were you inebriated?
I was not inebriated. No.
Oh, okay.
No, but I mean, as far as finding snakes, As soon as I got my road to my road a little late because I had to help my dad. But as soon as I hit the road, I got to like one of the best sections, and it was back to back to back DORs. It was, I'm pretty sure the same truck like ran over all three of them because they were
That's
in the
usually how
same
it goes.
spot in the road, dude.
That's usually how it goes.
But it was a DOR rough green, a DOR ribbon, and then a big old DOR banded. Literally like one after another. The rough green and the ribbon were probably 20 yards from each other, if even that. And then the banded was maybe 30, 40 yards from that. So that sucked. And then the rest of the night, I found like 5 or 6 copperheads. So,
You always got those coppers on lock.
oh yeah,
That's good.
oh yeah, copperheads are on lock. Um, that's about it for me as far as updates go. So hopefully, I don't you know. Hopefully about it. Everybody else did a whole lot more than we did. What's up,
Yeah,
Devin? Glad to see
yeah,
you
man.
here.
Hey, Devin. Free phrase.
Phrase,
Phrase.
phrase.
Phrase. Phrase.
All right, so we're gonna jump into these write-ins so we can get this rolling. Uh,
Bada boom.
First one, Chris, you know this picture from our buddy Chris Sanchez, Dirty Sanchez, we like to call
Ooh.
him. So he wrote in. Let me get over to the pictures here. I'll kind of scroll while I talk. He says, got off work Friday evening after working out of town. Upon getting home, I saw it had rained quite a bit. Knowing the last successful road cruise I took, finding my life for corn, was around 10 p.m., just after a summer rain with temps about 80 degrees and no moon. I asked my smarter and much more attractive better half if she'd like to ride our stretch of road, and she was happy to join. In the interim, I regaled her with stories from Daytona. The road itself was bone dry, and I was worried that we'd get skunked. Then, after stopping slash brake checking for numerous pieces of rope and pieces of tire, a white slash silver squiggly about 10 inches long, we simultaneously look up and said, "Snake." I was giggling before I was giggling before I left the car. She was laughing at my reaction. I immediately grabbed the little dude off the road, which resulted in him biting and flailing in my hand. He was velvet smooth, and the crisp contrast of his markings told me he had shed within the past 48 hours. After getting some better lighting, I can tell you that this is the prettiest gray rat I've seen thus far. What makes it more special is that this is the first snake myself and my missus road cruise together. On those moonless, previously rained summer nights, y'all hit the road. If not flipping 10, you should be spinning tires. Get out there. Much love, Dirty.
Love it.
Love it. That was a great story, man.
What a ride in. Sanchez, you're not only are you a beautiful human in person, but the poetic nature that comes out of your mouth is vibracious at times.
Yes. And that is an absolutely screaming gray rat, dude. That's real good looking. And there's his famous hat that all of us signed at Daytona.
That thing is awesome.
Yeah,
What a
that's a beautiful snake. Cool. Well, thank you very much, Chris. Keep them coming and stay out there on the roads, my guy. We're getting into the really good season of road cruising. So stay at it.
get after it.
Get after it. Next, we got a buddy of ours that is in the chat as well. Thank you very much for the ride in. Mr. Hunter Lister. And by the way, Chris Sanchez on Instagram is Project Reptilia. So check him out. He's awesome. We love him so much. Our next write in is from Mr. Hunter Lister, and he is Huntman2018 on Instagram. Definitely check out Hunter. He got some snakes from me recently. Very, very cool guy. You should be following him if you're not. Hunter says, all right, gents, here comes the write in as promised. So, over 3 days, I was able to find 7 species of herps slash inverts. The American giant millipede, the Carolina mantle slug, a copperhead, a canebrake rattlesnake. He says Crotalus horridus atricaudatus. I choose to believe as you should. The the American toad, northern slimy salamander, and northern dusky salamander.
Too
If any
bad.
of the IDs are wrong, specifically with the salamanders, please feel free to let me know. I will keep the order of pictures chronological and put the story with each day. So, as far as salamanders go, I'm not your guy. So, but here's some of the copper, one of the copperheads he found. He said, for some backstory, my dad and I were in Dahlonega, Georgia, for the archery bear opener. Ooh, archery bear. The above pictures were from Friday night after a day spent scouting for a sign. We walked up on this copperhead on the way out, and I was able to get it off the trail and into a Yeti cooler. It was later relocated due to the landowner being hell bent on killing it due to it being poisonous, quote unquote. And one had recently bit his dog. On the way back to the truck, we found the two American toads, both of which seemed to be eating well. Oh, I just so happened to be on the toads. They do look like they've been eating well.
Yeah. Fat boy.
Um, Fat boys. Um, After returning to where we were staying, I started checking the rocks outside the house and found the Carolina mantle slugs as well as the American giant millipede. That concluded night one. The next day was the season opener. So let me make sure I got these in the right order. There's your slug.
What a slug.
That's a cool slug, actually.
It really is.
And there's your millipede. All right, so this leads us to day two. So, as we were walking out of the woods on the season opener, on which my dad had just harvested his bear an hour or so before these pictures. By the way, I'm so glad you used the term harvested. People don't use that enough when it comes to
Yeah.
hunting. You're not just killing to kill, you are harvesting. So, I certainly appreciate that as a wildlife enthusiast. Um, we stumbled upon the cane brake just laying in the road. I again was able to get it out of the trail and safely into a cooler. Well, as my dad was packing up, I was walking around by the truck, just checking nearby brush and found the copperhead. I was able to catch it into the cooler. Both snakes were taken away from the property to avoid them being killed or being stumbled into by dogs and or the landowners' kids. I would like to add that proper tools were used and care was taken to ensure the safety of myself as well as the snakes. No free handling took place. Thank you very much. I would have loved for these snakes to have stayed right where they were, but due to the proximity in which they were found to the landowner's shed, I made a decision to move them to avoid them being killed. That concludes the season opener. Make sure I got these in the right order here.
Talk about a cooler fool.
Yeah. Where are we at?
Yep. Cody's. Salamanders.
Salamanders.
Sallies.
Look at that little guy who's hiding back there.
So freaking cute, dude. I can't wait till we go salamandering.
Dude, I'm so ready for salamander season.
Get mandarin.
A little mandarin. Oh man, look at that camouflage. Just insane. Here's a little video we'll play. It's only 18 seconds. Oh, I'm on the last day. Oops. I'm bad at this.
I thought you were trying to show the last day.
That I was technically there's only a few pictures from I don't know. I'm confused.
Oh,
Oh yeah, it was the first three. It was only three from the second day.
yeah. There's
So
one
yeah,
more.
the cane breaks and then the
The coppers.
yeah, and the coppers. Those were from day two. So these, yeah. So my bad. So as we were walking out of the woods on the season opener, on which oh wait no, I already read that. Okay,
Yeah.
this was our final night in Dallo.
You bet.
Georgia. The American toad was found in the parking lot at the shed and was super fun to photograph and was again to me massive. The next stop was the bridge on the property that we wanted to check out as the landowner said he had seen a snake and if we could find it, remove it before he found it again. There we found the northern slimy Dusky Salamander, and Copperhead. This was a well worth it stop that really produced. That concludes the trip and our findings. All in all, it was a fantastic trip with my dad, and it was amazing to find so many amazing herps and be there for my dad's first bear harvest. We couldn't have asked for more. We got to put meat in the freezer and keep four snakes from being killed. P.S. The last photo/video of the copperhead is the last day is the release video. So we already went through these because I'm an idiot. So very cool. Thank you, Hunter. Sounds like you had an awesome experience, especially going out bear hunting. That's very, very cool.
Yeah, dude. What a good weekend with your pops.
Awesome. And once again, great ride in, great stories.
Thank you, sir.
And let's see, where are we at?
I don't know who you have next after that.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Next, we have, where is it? There it is. Mr. Chris from Reptiles and Oddities. There's not a whole long of a story here, but we got a picture and a cool video. Chris said, I placed the bull in the original direction that it was heading. I placed the bull in front of the semi so I can take photos. Then here's a little video he found.
Well, guys, look, I just got this bull snake over here when I was trucking.
That's a beautiful bull snake, man.
It's so red and orange. It's
yeah. That is absolutely beautiful. Yeah, he was ready to light you up too.
Oh yeah,
that is so pretty. I love this part where he's going in the grass. You can kind of see him as he dives off through the grass.
Just how red it is, though, man.
Yeah, super red. You can see the grass moving as he goes.
Oh yeah, gone.
Awesome.
Good work, man. And that's in a semi. Don't give me no excuse, people.
Yeah, my man's finding snakes in a semi truck. Come on now. All right, thank you, Chris. Very, very good. We got two more. Our next is a frequent flyer in this, and we certainly appreciate it very, very much so. Mr. Devin Phrase and his account. And again, Chris is Reptiles and Oddities on Instagram. And Devin is Devin_F99. So check him out. He's a herping god over in Maine. So check him out.
God. A Mandalorian.
Mandalorian?
Mandalorian. I don't know.
So he just basically sent us a bunch of pictures, and he said, I haven't found anything too crazy lately, but I've been doing pretty well with the common species up here. There's a mix of finds from Maine, New Hampshire, and Massachusetts since the last episode. The garter on the log is an Easter, and the rest are maritime garters. I love that picture, dude.
Right? Hey, what did you put me on my back for, man?
Yeah, right. That's awesome. That's a lot of
that's a lot of legs.
That's disgusting. I'm just kidding. Beautiful garter.
Nice right there.
Yes, sir.
Super nice garter.
That's a small turtle.
So cute.
Is that a baby snapper? Is that what that is? Or am I stupid?
I don't know. I kind of thought the same thing, honestly.
I don't know. Beautiful salamander.
What a freaking mandamite. Devin always comes in with some nice pics, man.
Devin's always got the heat, boy.
Look at the little shroomy in the background.
Oh, that's perfect.
That's so cool.
Worms and I think that's a worm that looks like a garter snake, and that is a millipede.
That's funny. The snake's the smallest thing.
Right. I love that, dude.
That's cool.
That's awesome. Nice garter.
Oh my gosh! What? So, those are the red bellies?
Yes, I believe so.
Those things are super.
They look so much different from ours, man.
For real.
Very good. Thank you, Devin. You're killing it, man. Keep up the good work. Our last and final write-in is from our boy Zach Holland from Queen City Constrictors on Instagram. Check him out. Zach says, Ailey's first red belly snake, I let her pick up from the ground and release. She did great with it. And some amphibians and a sundew from the yard and a turtle seen kayaking in New Hampshire with Devin. And he did correct me on his daughter's name pronunciation. I'm sorry, Zach. I suck. These are awesome. I love those newts, man. And his little daughter with her red belly. That's adorable.
Her face. He's so
Yeah,
cute.
right. I love these pictures, dude.
Look at the contrast.
Right. They're so different. That's sick. Look at that bright red belly.
Dude, Zach and Devin have been
Wonderful.
killing it for being up there in Maine.
Yes, sir. All right. Well, once again, thank you all for writing in. This was fantastic. I know we've been kind of ripping through these kind of quick lately. So I apologize for that. We've been getting more and more every week, and we try not to have a 45-minute intro. So we kind of roll through them. So thank y'all so much. This has been fantastic. So hopefully we're good now. Our guest private messaged us and said he switched to his phone. So hopefully we're all good to go. Now, this
Devin,
gentleman
Devin
is
said that was a baby snapper.
aha.
He said he found a nest a few feet away.
I am not stupid.
Just a
So,
little.
just in case anybody thought I was, I'm not.
It was just a little bit, guys. It's okay.
So, our guest this evening has been a herping machine. He's done a lot of herping here recently and a lot in the past. And he was actually with us on our herp trip that Chaz plans out from Northern Morelia. And his name is Mr. Tino. Is it Cano?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we
Let's
can.
go. All right, sweet.
All right. Awesome, man. Is
The
your last
anticipation.
name Cano?
Cano is fine. Yeah.
Cano. Okay, cool. Well, awesome, man. Thank you so much for coming tonight. I'm
Yeah, for
very
sure.
glad
Thanks for having me.
glad we can hear you now. That's
Hell yeah.
fantastic.
You on finally.
Awesome, man. Well, to get started, man, give us a little background on you, what you do, give us your life story, you know.
Yeah. So, for reptiles, just have always been it's always been on the forefront of my life. Really, I've always loved them ever since I was a kid. Used to catch black racers in my backyard. We have a lot of southern toads too, so obviously. But my first pet was actually a sulcata tortoise. I know, not the best, but
No.
I was young. It was like
Sulcata.
20 years ago, so everything was different.
Yeah.
We don't know as much as we know nowadays. Um, and then it kind of died for a little bit. I didn't get into. I wasn't big in biology in school. I was more into like physics and mathematics, and so I actually went to um, UF for aerospace engineering. And then I realized that just wasn't what I wanted in life. It wasn't at all what I liked. And the job outlook was just awful. I was like, I don't want to work for the government or an engineering firm. So that all sucked. But
Yeah.
at the time when I was in college, I'm obviously poor. So I need a place to stay. I get a little apartment off campus and I need a way to pay for it. So I applied for the local reptile store. They let me in, and so I was like, "Oh shoot, awesome!" And I get to actually work with these animals again. Personally, I learned so much about different kinds of animals, so much about herping and stuff like that. Like it's an old shop too. It's been there. It's no longer there, unfortunately. It's now
Mm.
owned by like several other different people in the past. It's got a whole history, but a lot of old school herpers coming through there in middle of Gainesville. So you get to learn kind of a lot. Uh, then after that, I went back to Orlando, worked for another reptile store here, um, and then did some volunteer work with SLAM, with Jenna Palmisano, working with snake lungworm, invasive snake lungworm, and pygmies. I volunteered for the OCIC, the Orient Center for Indigo Conservation, and that's kind of how I got more into more environmental activism, more conservation work. And then now I'm currently working at Sea Life, an aquarium, as an educator. So not
Oh,
really uh, not really awesome job, awesome people, awesome work that they're doing, but it's still not like what I want to be doing. But yeah, that's kind of how I went from like beginning of like being interested in reptiles all the
Yeah.
way up to now like kind of actually have a job in education and conservation.
Very cool, man.
Yeah.
So like you always had an interest in them, then you got out of them in college. You said kind of deal.
I would say more like maybe from like the entire time that I was in, like from kindergarten to high school. I think during
Gotcha.
that time period, it was always like I always liked them, but during
Mm,
that time period, a lot of the times, not that my mom was fantastic, she supported everything I want to do, but not necessarily everyone else was the same way. And so a lot of the times they're like, oh, if you go into working with animals, you're not gonna make money. If you love the animals, that's why you're working with them. It's not
yeah.
really something that's it's hard to make a career out of that. So I was
Yeah.
like,
For sure.
man, dang. So what else am I good at?
Yeah. No, I hear you, man. That's
So yeah, it's
awesome
rough.
though.
It's rough.
Are
But
are
yeah.
you are you much of a keeper? Like, do you keep anything?
I do. I keep quite a bit. I keep mostly snakes. Snakes is
Okay.
forefront of my passion. I keep predominantly rat snakes, and then from there predominantly old world rats. Yeah. So I have Callicyanus, the blue beauty rat snakes. I have Wrigley Eye, the cave dwellers. I have a pair of Grabowski, which are like
Oh,
I coin them like the black beauties because
yeah.
they're beauty snakes, but they're just darker in coloration.
Yeah.
And then I've also got a black rat snake. I've had 100 flowers in the past. Um, I've got also a bull snake, white lip python, hognose, and I think that's it for the snakes. I've also got teas and scorpions, and a two-plated lizards and a pipectonata.
My,
Very cool.
my
Yeah,
boy
so
Dapple.
mostly snakes, but kind of still all over the board.
Yeah. What'd you say, Sky?
I said my boy dabbles.
Yeah, yeah.
He got those four legs and them inverts.
Yeah.
When you do those beach cleanups, like the one you just posted on your page, is that all through the place you work with, or is that like a different group that you guys set up and go out?
Yeah, so usually being Sea Life has what's called a green team, which is basically like a group of volunteers that go ahead and do those outreach programs. We're not the one, I don't think, this time that organized it, or it's like the Sea Life Trust that organized a global beach clean. So I'm pretty sure there's a whole bunch of organizations all over the world that also participate in the same beach clean, just not like in their own respective locations.
Yeah,
But this one was also run by, I forget the name of the organization, but I did post it on my story. I shared their post rather than Sea Life's. But yeah, there was a couple different organizations there too. Legoland Florida was there. Sea Life was there. Our Aquarius team was there. So it was awesome. Yeah, but I usually will always do the green team stuff. Um, but I feel like events like this are open. I invited a couple friends that I knew are local to be like, hey, do you guys want to come? I've got an extra ride in my car. You guys can come along because they're open for everyone to participate.
nice. Yeah, that's always cool. I mean, people don't think about how just impact from litter being all over the beaches can stop all these turtles and stuff from making it to the water as much
Yeah.
as everything else they already have to
Oh
go.
yeah, there's
That's the only reason why we need to go clean the beaches up. But
one
still,
of my coworkers literally went to the beach like 2 or 3 days ago and she found a dead sea turtle, which is crazy, crazy,
Oh
a little
man.
baby sea turtle. But it was fully intact, and so we're kind of surmising that there was a lot of like other stuff around it, like a lot of kelp, a lot of seashells and stuff that were like it probably just wasn't strong enough to make it all the way to
Right.
the water over all that debris, which is fine because it's natural. It was
yeah,
natural debris, it's like natural selection at work. That's what's supposed to
Right.
happen. They're not all
Right.
supposed to survive, but when it's plastic bags, when it's garbage bags, when it's like a bunch of our waste, that's when it's like, okay, no, this isn't supposed
Yeah.
to be what's happening anymore.
no, yeah, they're already going through so much just to survive. So
Yeah,
that's
Yeah.
see you
yeah,
guys doing that. Everyone needs to kind of take initiative and
yeah.
a little piece like that. I think that's super cool.
This is
Yeah.
kind of like herping on like I guess a big scale because we went with through the aquarium. We went to with the UCF Turtle Lab. We were able to participate in a turtle walk where basically you walk along a specific refuge area and you see nesting sea turtles during the summer. That's usually
Wow.
on average they all average along the summer months, and so I was actually able to see for the first time like a nesting loggerhead sea turtle, and it was
That
just like this is the coolest thing ever. This is like this is one of the largest reptiles in the world alone, and it's just
Yeah.
fantastic to see the natural behavior.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Dude, sea turtles are such incredible animals, and it's so important, and it's really cool. I volunteer at a nature center over in Tybee Island, Georgia, and they are on their permit. They're allowed to keep two loggerhead sea turtles for a period up until they get to a certain size, then they get released, just to ensure that they make it to that size. And they just released one that I got to work with a little bit. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to go for the release because they did it during my working hours. But it's really cool, man. Seeing those things up close is absolutely unreal.
Yeah, it really is. At the aquarium, if anyone ever wants to come visit, we have a green sea turtle, a Kemp's Ridley sea turtle, and a loggerhead sea turtle, all deemed not able to be released into the wild, and so they have to live the rest of their lives in captivity.
Yeah.
But it is so awesome that that's my workspace. I get to look at a sea turtle just swimming around doing its thing. I'm like, this is so cool. So
that's fantastic, man.
Yeah,
it's really cool. I'm actually wearing a sea turtle shirt right now. You can't see
nice.
it on the back. This is actually the place I volunteer at. It's the Georgia 4-H program. And it's my sea turtle shirt, man. Love me some sea turtles.
Yeah.
Do we all group hug right now or something? This is getting really weird.
What?
I said, should we all group hug right now?
Nah, man. Sea turtles for life, brother.
we gotta get Jack Oliver in here. We'll be like, look, we all love turtles.
Yeah. That's all. No, we had him last time.
Yeah.
I'm tired of talking about turtles. No, I'm just
yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome. Loved all of it.
That was a great episode. Speaking of that, if you like turtles and you haven't listened to our last episode, you should absolutely do it. It was all turtle talk with Jack. So definitely check that out. Moving forward, we've already got plans for some more species specific episodes moving forward. So y'all definitely stay tuned for that. Well, Tino, getting into our outline a little bit, based on your story, or based on the story you gave us, I'm going to guess that captive keeping came before field herping for you. Is that a safe bet, or were you field herping first?
So as a kid, I don't count it as herping because you're kind of just going outside looking what's in your backyard. So that's tough. I would say then captive keeping definitely came first.
I mean, were you catching toads before you were keeping lizards? Does it count?
No, yeah. I mean, it's like you see a lizard outside, you just catch it.
Yeah.
I guess that's herping, but it's not like actively out there doing photography, watching animals in habitat. It's not the same thing.
Right.
Going out there with a specific target in an area.
Yeah. I'm still young. I'm still scared of venomous snakes. I still don't know what's what, so it's like but no, yeah, I think most people start that way too. They start with the captive industry, and so a lot of the times there's so much issue with captive keeping and a lot of moral conundrums surrounding it that a lot of the times I know a friend personally that like his whole thing is like, if you don't have animals in captivity, no one's going to care about them in the wild, and it's unfortunate. It is really, really unfortunate, but at the same time, like I look at my own example, I'm like, if I did not keep a sulcata tortoise, I would not now, 20 years later, know why people shouldn't be keeping sulcata tortoises, and then we need to protect them in the wild. True. It's like, okay, well, I get it now.
Oh, this makes sense. But they're so cute when they're babies.
Yeah, it's like buying a baby caiman, dude. Like, like just don't like
a little bend that I have that I will always tell people is like, if you want the big tortoise, get the big tortoise. Find a rescue that there's a ton of them in Florida that have adult sulcata tortoises that you can adopt and you can have them. You can set up the pen for them, do everything that you want to do, and keep a sulcata tortoise until you or it dies. But
probably gonna be you.
yeah, really. But if people want that small tortoise, I'm like, just get a Herman's tortoise. They stay smaller. Just do it. Don't support the breeding of these animals that always end up in rescues.
Yeah, man. And if you even go the rescue route, make sure you got land.
Oh yeah.
Like, don't keep it in a tiny little backyard. Make sure you got enough space for that thing to roam.
They will
For-
bust out of your fence if you try to keep them in a
They'll
backyard.
bust out of your house if they have the opportunity, dude.
One of my two of my favorite pictures is one of a so-called tortoise breaking through drywall within someone's house,
Yep.
and then another is them lifting the toilet from the floor. Yeah, like
Oh
they shattered the
God,
toilet and moved it.
that's crazy, man.
Yeah.
Unstoppable force.
Insane.
This I won't say that tortoises are stupid because they're not, but they are incredibly, incredibly stubborn. Once they want to do something, nothing is stopping them.
Yep. Yep. They got a one-track mind for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, no
That's for
doubt.
sure. No, but yeah, the captive keeping definitely came first. But I think from there, the conservation work is a lot better. Like I can understand a lot of both sides. I think a lot of the
Yeah.
times, especially people that are like stuck in the captive industry, find it difficult to then want to contribute to conservation, want to educate themselves further, or even go herping alone. You know, I'm sure a majority of like not to shit on anybody, but a lot of ball python keepers probably don't do a lot of herping.
You said it, not me.
Yeah, yeah. So that's and it's important. It's important to do that. But I also think the
Yeah.
reverse is true. Being in spaces where a majority of the people that I'm working with come from education and then into conservation work, the outlook that they have on the captive industry is really bad. And not
Yeah.
that it's not justified, but there's a point, there's an element where there's no middle ground. There's
Right.
no middle ground, and middle ground is really, really essential.
And that's what we're trying to do here.
Yeah,
This is the middle ground that
yeah.
we try and make happen, man. Very good, man. Let's get into some herping nitty gritty.
Oh yeah.
You know. So let's start with the basics, man. What do you bring in when you're out in the field? You know, what's in your herp bag?
Yeah, so I do keep a herp bag. That's like literally what I
Of
call it.
course.
Watching you guys, I'm like, wow, I literally do that. I have for one deep free bug spray. Being in Florida, the mosquitoes are like literally this big,
Yeah.
so you got to really have a lot of that bug spray. And we want it DEET free because if you're ever going to handle an amphibian, DEET is toxic to amphibians, so you want to make sure that everybody's going to be safe with that.
That's one thing nobody's brought up on here, so I'm glad you said that. That's cool.
Yep,
This is
very
why I like asking this question because even though there's a lot of overlap,
Never know.
somebody's always got new information or something extra to
Yep.
add. So that's
Never
great.
know.
Yep.
Never know.
I do. Also for lights, I have two headlamps, one battery, one that does both rechargeable and battery, and then also a handheld flashlight that does the same thing. I love that because then I can just charge it in my car if I'm like
Yep.
impromptu herp trip, charge it real quick in my car. But in my car, I also keep a case of AAA batteries just in case, because I will not be caught out with no lights. I can't.
Yeah. No, mine actually takes mine's has one battery that you can recharge, but also because I have a headlamp and a handheld. They're both made by Coast. But Coast,
Ghost is
they come with one big battery that you can recharge that battery and it's
that's the one,
great.
yeah.
But they also have a cylinder that holds like a certain amount of AAA batteries. So I grabbed the biggest freaking thing I could of AAA batteries and they stay in my bag. I'm
Yep,
like,
yep, yep.
nope, not gonna catch me without these.
I also do. I used to like the little shorten hooks, like
Little
the ones that like
collapsible ones.
retractable, but
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
just garbage. They're just garbage.
Yeah.
I've yet to
Parts
find
and-
like a really good one.
Yeah. They always
Uh,
pull apart, like the joints always break.
Yeah, yeah. And sometimes if you're like misjudge how heavy a snake is, boom, it snaps right there, and you're like, "Mm."
Yeah. Ah, shit.
Yeah, yeah. Not a cottonmouth, dang it.
Yeah, I got bit.
I never would have thought this 5-foot cottonmouth would break this 2-foot hook. Damn.
Who
Yeah,
would've thought?
And so I do keep like a smaller, like maybe 24-inch hook, and then I have my
Yeah.
36-inch hook for the bigger guys. I also keep, because I'm a big like invertebrate person, like arthropod person, I do keep like a small deli cup clear all the way around, so I can, if there's a bug that I like, I'll go ahead and close it, take a look closer. Sometimes even just get them under control because centipedes will just move and move and move, so you gotta like restrain them a little bit safely. Um, I keep a pillowcase just in case something has to be moved away from someone's property. Like if someone gives me a call, I'll go. If I have to move it in order to, save its life, I'll move it a little bit.
Yeah.
And then last thing, this is actually what I learned from going out with Slam is a bottle of alcohol, of isopropyl rubbing alcohol,
Hmm.
and that's to go ahead and sanitize between individual animals. So whenever you hook an animal or with your hands, you're touching the animal, go ahead and sanitize in between. And then sanitize your boots or your shoes in between sites, so that way you're not spreading anything potentially that you're picking up. That's a lot of like that biosecurity measures, because here in
Yeah.
Florida we have a lot of issues, a lot of issues that are out there. Cryptosporidium, we have the invasive pentastomes, we have snake fungal disease, all these different things you don't want to be moving towards other snakes, especially ones that like right after another. You found this water snake, and then you're moving on to a pygmy, and you're just giving it what you just grabbed
Yeah.
off the water. So now I carry the isopropyl, just to like, maybe it doesn't do a lot, but as long as you're doing something.
Yeah. No, it's absolutely better than nothing. Very good, man. That's the first time I've heard somebody say they bring alcohol with them, so that's cool. I try to keep a little bottle of at least hand sanitizer on me
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
for my hands, but that doesn't do much for boots. So I like the idea of having alcohol for boots.
yeah,
That's a good one.
yeah. Not to mention you can spray down your car after you're done with it, because you're probably all sweaty and stuff. You can be like, all
There
right,
you go.
let's clean it a little bit.
No
Yeah.
shit. No shit. Kill all the germs. Kill some ticks.
Yep.
Shit.
Kill
That's
some
what
ticks.
cigarettes are for, man. You gotta,
Dude,
you gotta burn that sucker off.
That was so funny. See, this is the funniest part about that story, is that
Oh
I'm
my
in my
god.
tent, butt naked, looking at myself over, trying to find any ticks, right? And then I find one in my, you
area.
know,
Area.
area, and then I'm like, oh dang, all right, I guess I got to do this. I hear
Somebody grab
Jack say across, someone grab a cigarette. I was like, whoa, 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 whoa.
Oh my
Oh man,
gosh,
that
dude.
was
That
so funny. I
was
was like, I sure hope they don't.
no,
Yeah.
dude. Dude, but afterwards,
Give us your
after
give us your tick, We're gonna burn it off.
That's so funny.
Spread your legs.
That's so bad.
after the fact, me and Scott looked at each other and we're like, bro, we should have done it. Like we had every opportunity just to burn Jack with a
Yep.
cigarette
Burn
for
the
no
Forever.
reason.
Forever. That would have
She
been so
melted his
funny.
fucking arm to shit. The fucking ticks crawling away. We're still just burning
So
his fucking
good.
arm with the cigarette.
So good.
That was so funny. We gave him
Yeah.
hell about that in his episode last week.
Yeah.
Pretty
Deserved.
cool, man. So obviously being a, avid herper in the state of Florida, you encounter a lot of different habitats, from sand hills to swamps. Talk about different strategies and methods for each one. Like what do you, if you go on the sand hills, what are you targeting? How are you doing it? And then vice versa with something like the swamps or any other habitat you can think of.
Yeah. So for me, it's a lot to do with time of day as well. If you're going
Absolutely.
into the sandhills late at night, your chances of finding a lot are pretty slim. And kind of vice versa. If you're going out in the swamp midday, chances are pretty low. Chances are still pretty low for
Yeah.
much movement. And so if you're going into really wet, marshy areas, you want to like cypress knee swamps, anything like that. You're definitely going to be targeting more Nerodia, garter snakes, ribbons, cottonmouths for sure. And so if that's the target, that's the move. You got to come prepared, and it's probably going to be at nighttime. I prefer definitely road cruising those areas too. I'm not much. I wear jeans like all the time, so I don't really like a lot getting up to my ankles wet. So,
Yeah.
for the most part, it's just cruising those areas. But for the sandhills, I love hiking sandhills. Like obviously, like in the sand itself sucks horribly, because that's a tough hike, especially since you're going out early in the morning,
Yeah.
9 a.m., 8 a.m. sometimes. So with a lot of that, it's just coming at the right areas and the right temperatures. Right temperatures, right areas. You're bound to find stuff. Coach whips, sometimes corals, EDBs for sure, Eastern Diamondbacks.
Okay, so you can leave the for sure for yourself, buddy. Okay, ain't no for sure about that in my area.
No, yeah.
That's a
Yeah,
hard one.
it's still tough. I mean, now's the time. It's September.
Oh yeah.
We got babies.
Next weekend we're some Sky's coming down, Jack's coming down.
Sweet.
Gabe's coming down. Smitty's gonna tag along. We're hitting the Sandhill area
Oh
by
yeah,
me. That's known. There's known sightings of EDBs, pine
Mhm.
snakes, and coach whips.
Sweet. When I
So
tell you, everyone around me, not everyone around me, but a lot of the big areas that I know of, are coming out with EDB babies. Like someone from does honestly doesn't even matter where. They'll just post a
right.
little baby Eastern Diamondback that they put on Facebook, and they're like, "Oh, look what I just found!" I'm like, Why isn't it me?"
Bro,
Yeah.
10 minutes
Yeah.
from my house, some lady just put up on the local Facebook page. She's like, "What snake is this? It just went into the back of my yard and into my garden area." Fresh neonate
Yep.
Eastern Diamondback. I'm like, "Are you
Yep.
kidding me?" 10 minutes
Yep.
from my house. I'm like, "Why
Uh,
can't why?"
yeah. 20 minutes from my house. Someone, I'm in a herp group. Like, well, I'll say it, that's fine. I'm in UCF Herpetology Club. I don't go to UCF, but it's open to anyone. And so it's a nice place to like get in contact with like people who are herping, people in education, all that kind of stuff. And so someone in that group was like, I just found a den of like a gopher tortoise burrow, and there was juvenile Eastern Diamondbacks coming out, like removing their first sheds and stuff. I'm like, and that's 20 minutes from my place. So I was like,
Mm.
To see that, man.
yep, yep.
For educational purposes, I'm going to need you to send me the GPS coordinates.
Yeah, right. And it's funny because he took me to go ahead and see the burrow itself, and I could see remnants of sheds and stuff.
Wow.
Yeah, it was awesome, dude. I was like, that's so
That's super
cool.
cool, man. That's a dream for me, man. I tracked Eastern Diamondbacks out on a private island here that a buddy of mine was going to Marshall University and he was doing the Eastern Diamondback study out here. And it's a private island, the general public does not have access to it, but
That's
he
fine.
took me out there with him to track them, and I don't count that as I've seen him. I don't count it as like a lifer or anything, or like my state fine, just because I'm a nerd like that. But man, it's so cool, man,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
you would get to these spots and that tracker is just singing, dude.
Hmm.
So it's like this thing's within like
Yeah,
5 feet of where you're standing,
so
and it's
cool.
just it's invisible.
Yeah.
It was funny. I found the first one of the day when we got there. It was coiled up under some palm fronds, and I was like, boom, right there. I was like, Psh, this is easy. I'm gonna find all these things before he does. That
Oh
was
yeah.
the only one I spotted that day.
Oh yeah. That's so cool.
Yeah, it
That's
was
so
it
funny.
was awesome though, man. It was
Well,
just like find the Diamondback once you
no,
got
yeah.
to a certain spot.
With one of my favorite herps like ever, like trips or like finds itself. I actually sent you guys some of the pictures I took with my camera of it.
Yeah.
Um,
Tell
but
me what
is
it is and I can pull it up.
yeah, it's the Eastern Diamondback.
Gotcha.
Um,
Hold on.
not the smaller one. Also, Instagram destroyed a lot of the picture
Oh yeah.
quality. So
Yeah.
I mean, take this with a grain of salt. But one of them is like a long form picture rather than like an actual portrait picture.
Was that really badass picture you took with
Yeah,
your signature on it?
yeah. That's the one.
Yeah, hold up.
Um, and so with that one, the story with it is that it was a day in January, and I was like, "There's one day in this week where it is warm, where the sun comes up, there's no clouds," and I was like, "That's the day. This is when I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna find an Eastern Diamondback coming back out after like a little bit of winter hunkering down for some extra sun to go back down." And so I go to this region.
Boom.
That's the one.
Oh,
That's money right there, dude. Oh my
Yeah.
god.
It was beautiful. We're so privileged here in Central Florida for a lot of herbs. I mean, obviously we have a lot of development here in Orlando, and so it really, really sucks. But Central Florida, like herbs, just look incredible. That the yellow in contrast on that individual was amazing. Was amazing.
you can see it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
You can
I was
see
like, this had to like freshly shed or something. It just got rid of its winter something. But yeah, I was so
Yeah.
happy to find that guy.
All right. If you don't mind telling, what time of year did you find this?
January. January.
January.
Yep, I think the second or
Oh,
third week of January, we had one warm day in the week, and I was like, "That's the day. That's when I'm gonna find them."
damn.
Yep,
That's awesome, dude.
yep. I went to the same spot that I took Sky the last time, and so yeah, I was like, I I know it's gonna happen. I know it's gonna happen.
Hell yeah, we
Yeah.
definitely got to go there. That was a good spot for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, we should, we should.
Don't you just love it when you call your shot? Like,
Oh yeah,
that's the best feeling. Like, I'm gonna go to this spot and I'm gonna find this.
yep,
And then you do it and you're like, I'm a
yeah,
god. Like,
I am a god.
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. That's
Like,
so funny.
it's oh dude, that's the best, man.
Yeah, yeah,
Absolutely fantastic, dude.
yeah. It's awesome.
That is such
So
a
cool.
sick picture.
With lifers for you guys, are you guys like snobs, or do you guys have rules about what counts as a lifer or whatnot?
Absolutely.
I have my own, so not saying I'm not a snob, but
Oh, I'm a snob. So I have lifers, then I have state lifers.
okay.
So I had found a scarlet king snake previously, but it wasn't in South Carolina. So I had it on my lifer list. I didn't have on my state list. So then
Gotcha.
I found one shortly after in the state. So I knocked off my state list.
Okay, gotcha.
Um,
Sweet.
So
Now,
that's how I do it, and DORs don't count.
right.
So-
For me, DORs don't count either.
Yeah.
So like for me too, it's like if I'm on the same trip as someone, then that counts as a lifer for me. I know a
Yeah.
lot of people aren't like
Yeah.
that, but if I'm in the same area and someone else found it, but I go over there and I see the animal, that's good. Lifer for
Yeah.
me. I still saw it in habitat, you know.
Yeah, and you were there when they found it. That's how I count.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a group effort at that point. Like when
Yeah.
so I feel it on the other hand though, because like I always want to be the one to spot it.
No,
Don't get
yeah,
me
for sure.
wrong. Like
Especially when
that's
you're with a
just
new group of people, you're like, oh, I
yeah.
gotta show my worth.
Yeah. Perfect example is when me, Jack, and Gabe went out looking for rainbow snakes. Gabe was like, go here, walk here. And dude, I walked right by one because I didn't know what I was looking for. He walked right behind me. He's like, bro,
Yeah.
it's right here. And I was
That's
like,
so
"Dad,"
funny.
you know, so I was like, okay, this is my lifer, but now
Yeah.
I'm mad.
Yeah.
So we kept looking, and Gabe was like, all right, go here. And I said, Gabe, stay up there.
Stay
I'm
away.
gonna do this. And then
Yeah,
I found two, and I was happy.
That's so funny.
So that was,
Oh yeah.
but yeah, no. Is there? And speaking of that, is there anything else that you like will or won't count, like specifically for weird scenarios?
Not really.
Not
'Cause
really?
I feel like for the
Yeah.
most part, some people are snobs the other way, where they're like, if I don't put my eyes on the snake
Yeah.
first, it doesn't count. I'm like, that's crazy. You're crazy.
Nah, the group found it, and
Yeah.
I count it for sure.
yeah, for
Because you may not be the one that spotted it, but it was a group effort, and that's really what matters at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
At least to me, for sure. So I want to get your opinion on this. So for me, like I said, I don't count the Eastern Diamondbacks I found because we tracked them. So Phil Wolf says I should count that. He goes, dude, you absolutely should count that. You saw him in the state. My buddy Gabe's like, bro, you can't count that. Like, you know, you kind of you found him, but like you cheated. So, so what would be your take on that? I'm
That is
curious.
tough. That is tough. 'Cause it's kind of like it's kind of like you were in habitat. You did see the animal in habitat. It's the first time you saw it. So minimum. Okay, fine, counts as a lifer. But there is that added element where you knew where that animal was.
Right.
You know, so it's kind of like it's
Eh,
tough. That's a tough one. I would say it doesn't count.
Yeah, I don't count it. I'll count it as a lifer, as in I've seen it, but I don't cross it off my state herp list.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like I still have to find these
Yeah, for sure.
naturally in situ. You know,
For sure. I have a friend. His name is Chuck. He does Mad Battle Reptiles. Pretty famous on Instagram. But he's so funny because so with like let's say pygmy rattlesnakes, I can take you to 4 or 5 different places and guarantee we find a pygmy. Okay, but for Chuck, he likes to find pygmies in areas where they're not too easy to find. You know, where it's like, oh, they're either not as they're more seasonal, or there's more habitats to like hide under or to be more hidden. And so for him, whenever he sees a pygmy in those kinds of areas, he flips. He loses his freaking mind. But I post a day of finding like 10 pygmies. He's like, nah, it doesn't count. I don't care.
yeah, that's getting a little. I understand the thought process and being more hyped for the first one because it's like, you know, this was a harder find, or maybe they're not even really known to be in that area. So I understand being more hype about it.
Yeah.
But if I just want to go see a pygmy, I'm gonna go see a fucking pygmy. Like,
and for
you
me,
know,
it's like the same way. Like if I'm going through a specific habitat to target a specific species during a certain time or whatever,
Right.
and I find, you know, bycatch, I find just this last week, I was going to an area to look for juvenile eastern diamondbacks, and I found a pygmy, and I was like, I've never seen a pygmy in this area before. Fire, we're winning,
Yeah.
we're winning. I count
Right,
this as a
right.
win, you know. Um, and while yeah, if there was a day that I was like, man, I'm itching to see a pygmy, I could just
Yeah.
no brainer, just go somewhere and be like, yeah, yeah, yeah. All right, I'm
I
good, I'm good.
understand being
Got you.
hyped for it for sure because there's certain areas where like okay, pygmies have as far as anybody knows have been extirpated from this area. So
Yeah.
you go out and find one and you're like, boom, did it. Like that's
Yeah.
awesome,
Yeah.
But yeah,
For sure.
I see both sides, but if I want to see a pygmy, I'm going to go see a pygmy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I
Same,
don't care
same.
where it's at.
There's definitely numerous spots in Florida where you can go find pygmies like that, where it's like you're just walking down a trail and they're just like at every base of the palm
Yeah.
frond,
Yeah.
chilling
There's
almost
places.
identically.
Yeah,
Like,
there's places you can't throw a stick without hitting a pygmy.
yeah, it's
y'all's pygmies are our copperheads.
Yeah.
Like I road cruise, people had like, oh, what do you find? It's like I can on this road that I've been hitting a lot, and it's like I can almost guarantee a copperhead.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
almost. Yeah, I've yet to not find a copperhead on one of these trips. Like going out there, I've never been skunked on this road.
No.
Knock on wood. We're gonna do that real quick. But I've always at least found one copperhead.
But see, with me being in Central Florida, when I went up with you guys for the herp trip,
yeah,
flipping out over a copperhead, I was like,
yeah,
shit.
right.
For me, it counts as my lifers because I was like, never seen them before. This is
really.
fire.
Oh, that was your first time you've seen copperhead?
Yep.
Very cool.
Yep. And I kissed it on. Like a lot of people love croats, which yes, rattlesnakes deserve all the respect that they got. But I kissed it on are so cool, dude.
I
They're
love
so
them.
fire. I was also my lifer northern cottonmouth.
Oh, really?
Yeah, northern cottonmouth. Because I guess the Florida cottonmouth is a separate species. The northern cottonmouth is its own, Piscivorous versus Conanti. So I was like, technically lifer.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I found a Florida cottonmouth when I was herping near Tallahassee several years ago, and then I guess I've seen a couple since then herping because Florida's like become a second home for me at this point.
Yeah.
I herp down there with the boys all the time.
Just move down here.
Did my screen cut off at all just now?
It froze for a second. You were looking like this.
Yeah. Okay. My neighbor that I've talked to one time that lives 4 houses down that knows I'm a reptile person because I have cages on the side of my house outside just called me at 9:00 at night because she has a lizard in her house and apparently wanted me to come get it out. What?
That's so funny. Huh. Ask her for a picture of it.
But like literally frantic. Like, there's a lizard in it. What do you want me to do?
It's a brown anole.
It's literally like.
Yeah. Look. She's gonna send you a picture. She's gonna send you a picture of an Argentine tegu.
Right. It's a bistro.
It's either a brown anole or it's a race runner. She's sent me pictures before. I don't know what the heck goes on in her house, but she gets lizards in her house all the time.
So. Maybe you should close your doors and windows. That's one thing with you Florida people. Y'all be leaving your doors and windows open just like
it's hot,
all the
bro.
time.
It's hot out here.
Yeah, it's called AC. Close your shit, dude.
AC is expensive. Electricity is expensive, brother.
Nah, man. Man, very cool.
But speaking of I guess going to an area, finding the herp that you want, and also finding a herp, I guess, based on taxonomy, finding a lifer based on taxonomy. I'm gonna tell you guys my favorite, the peak herp story that I have. For me personally, it's not like people are gonna be like, "Wow, that was the lamest thing I've ever heard." But for me, this was a legendary thing for me. A year ago, or maybe 2 years ago, my sister's graduating from UVA, so we go to Virginia. My first time herping in Virginia, so I'm like, oh, this is cool. Can't wait to go there. We were only there for not even a week, right? Because we're only there for the ceremony. But I get a little window. Of a couple hours before sunset that I was like, I'm gonna go on. I'm gonna go look in these specific areas. Actually, I just went on INAT, looked in these specific areas, and I was like, all right, it's gonna happen today. It's gonna happen. So I go to this area, and actually I sent the pictures in there. You can actually, it's one of the ones that just looks like a picture of a tree.
I know exactly which one you're talking about.
Yeah. So I'm going to this, it's next to a river. I go on the edge because a lot of the times herps like to hang out on the edges of trees, jump out. Nerodi does the same thing, whatever. And so I'm like, looking up along this tree, and I see just
This
a
tree.
little black thing. Here you can't really see it too well because that's how I saw it in
I found
situ.
I found it. I
Yeah,
found
yeah.
it. Just so
That's
you
how I
know.
saw it in situ. And I was like, oh my God, please don't be a racer. I mean, I know it's up a tree, but I was like, please don't be a racer. This is literally the snake that I want to see. I want to see a black rat snake. Um, and so I go over and I pluck it up and I'm like, yes, finally, lifer black rat
Whoa.
snake. Beautiful, beautiful. It has a lot of battle scars, a lot of wounds, but like almost all sleek black. It was beautiful. The iridescence was crazy.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, and so
I
I was so
got
excited.
I actually got my life for black rat in Georgia last year myself.
Yeah, that was
Nice,
awesome. I was with you
sweet.
for that.
But see,
Dude,
here's the thing. Here's
I
the thing.
lost it.
Here's what's funny. Here's what's funny. So when I found it, I was like, okay, black rat snake, Pantherophis obsoletus, we're winning, right?
Nice.
I do more research into the whole Pantherophis mess. Uh, Colubrid and Colubrid Radio, if you guys listen to it, they're listening. Awesome. They did a fantastic episode just on this, these
Yes, they
like
did.
Burbank, all of them. Fantastic. So then I was like, okay, well, before that, I was like, okay, well, technically, I guess this is Pantherophis alicaniensis, or the eastern rat snakes. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
cool. And then so I was like, technically a yellow rat. I was like, if I found a yellow rat in Florida, I could just go up there. It's a yellow rat. We're winning. I could technically take this back to Florida, and it's the same species. Crazy, right?
Yeah.
Which I don't agree
Yeah.
with.
Hello.
That makes
Yeah, yeah.
it makes so much sense.
Complete sense. So I'm like, okay, I guess it wasn't a lifer, quote unquote.
No.
Come
Fuck
to
that.
listen.
Fuck
Come
that. It counts.
come to see the other papers that have come out like 2021, 2022, and I'm like, oh wait, it's back to Pantherophis alleganiensis, and the yellow rats are now, I guess, Pantherophis quadrivittatus.
Quadrivittatus, yeah.
So I'm like, lifer again? Let's
Yeah,
go. Let's go.
go.
The list gets bigger again.
Yeah. Hilarious. Like 3-4 years of my life.
I'm honestly still kind of confused on the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you heard their episode? I
yeah, of course. Of course.
Oh, yeah,
I listened to it twice and I still don't get it. Yeah.
It's rough.
Yeah. But yeah, you know me, man. I love my rat snakes.
Yeah, rat
bad.
snakes are the best. You work mostly with gray rats and yellows, right?
More yellows than anything.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm officially at 15 different localities of yellow rats.
Yeah.
Just yellow rats.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
yeah, it's bad.
Yeah.
It's 15 yellow rats, 5 gray rats, and then 2 black localities.
Yeah. Jeez.
So yeah.
Well, my favorite thing with like yellows and grays is like you see them, you put them up together as babies. I mean, you put them right next to each other. You can tell which one's the yellow versus the gray.
Right.
But like separate pictures, you're like,
I tell you though, man, my dad found one. So me and my dad worked for the county a couple years ago. My dad found a baby rat snake at the courthouse or something, and he was like, "This is a rat snake, right?" He sent me a picture. This thing was white and black. Like I was like, "Well,
Oh,
that's weird." Like it was crazy, dude. If you would have said this is a gray rat, I would have been like, "Yeah, of course it is." Like that's absolutely a whiteout.
Crazy, dude.
So yeah, man, it's nuts, dude. Yeah, I got about. No, I got like 40 baby rat snakes behind me right now that I hatched out.
You working with Gulf hammocks or no?
Yeah.
Okay, so with the Gulf hammocks, that's even more interesting because it's like you have the yellows, you have the grays. They kind of look a little like, but then you have a Gulf hammock. You're like, I don't even know.
Yeah,
a baby Gulf hammock is like.
It's its own thing, dude. Like Gulf hammocks are crazy, and I actually have 2 different looks. I've got really clean and light Gulf hammocks, and then I've got a Gulf hammock that's like almost red.
Fire.
It's crazy, dude. Like brown and red, and then I have a true intergrade. This thing is like as pink as your shirt. Like I'm not kidding you. It's from Lake City area.
Yeah, is that these lake ones?
Yeah, it is straight up. It's got a yellow sock on its head, and the rest of the body is pink. It's the weirdest rat snake. Gabe, before Daytona, Gabe was at my house. And I was like, I'm going to show you the prettiest rat snake you've ever seen in your life. He goes, well, that's going to be hard to do. I picked up its hide. He goes, okay. And I was like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that thing's
For
wicked,
sure.
man.
I mean, I was mentioning earlier with the like how in Central Florida we're so privileged for how pretty some of the herps look.
Yeah,
If you want to pull up the picture of the yellow rats,
yeah, dude.
Dude, Devin
so
also sent some pictures from the trip that have Tino in it, and there's one with Tino on a corn snake that you need to pull up. It's fucking hilarious.
so there's we saw the like the greenish rats up in South Carolina.
Okay, first off,
Uh,
watch your mouth. They're not greenish.
oh,
They're
okay,
still,
well,
they're still
so
yellow rats, but
listen,
whatever.
like I'm like,
They're
okay,
dirty.
look,
They're
look,
dirty yellows.
look,
Okay.
seeing them, I was like, these are the ugliest yellow rat snakes
Right?
ever. Yeah, like that's a yellow rat with the red eyes,
Yeah,
the clear
yeah,
lines.
yeah.
So sad.
That's ridiculous, dude. I will say, like our yellow rats, I think they're awesome. I think they're super unique
No,
and super
they're
cool. But
they're
I'm
their own thing.
absolutely with you. They're ugly as shit. Like if you like yellow rats, like you're probably not gonna like these. But me, I love them, dude.
I do
I
like them, yeah. A rat snake's
yeah.
all the way, so it's fire. But
I just
um,
got a hatchling pair from an island right here on in our county.
oh cool.
So I'm glad to have some homegrown beauties. That thing's freaking awesome, dude.
Yeah,
There's another yellow rat picture.
yeah.
Where is it? Right here.
That's the same one. Same
Yeah,
animal.
that thing's. I love when they have the red eyes, dude.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love that because
It's
you don't
great.
always get the red-eyed
Nope.
ones.
A
They can
lot of
have
a
more.
lot of the ones around here either have copper or red, man.
Yeah,
Yep.
There are a lot of copper ones though.
Yeah. And then you go further south, you go to like Everglades area, Miami Co. You get like almost all yellow rat snakes with no lines.
yeah. So it's funny. I actually have. So I have Glades County Everglades. Very red. They have some. The weird thing is, like my Glades County Everglades have stripes,
Hmm.
but I have Glades County yellows.
Okay.
Because it's just a different color look.
Yeah.
But those are more patternless, and it's
Mhm. Yep.
super weird.
So super bizarre.
Yeah,
Yeah.
super bizarre.
And it's tough when you like so with the UCF herpetology club, what they do, it's awesome the things that they do. They do like guided herp trips.
Mhm.
They do visits to like zoos and whatnot, specific to herps and all that. But with this one thing, this one event that they did last, it was like a wet specimen ID, like kind of like crash course type thing,
Mhm.
where they go ahead and get the university's wet specimens for reptiles here in Florida, like mud snakes, indigos. You have also lizards. You have um, your sand skinks, and you have turtles as well. And so they have all these wet specimens, right? And if you've ever seen wet specimens, they lose all of their color.
Yeah.
And so they turn like almost all white and black. It's just those are the only colors you're working with. And I look at like a deceased coral snake covered in formaldehyde, and I'm like, man, dang, this is the worst coral snake I've ever seen.
This is disgusting.
This is disgusting. And so yeah, so that identification has to happen without observance of
Yeah.
any color. Color doesn't matter at all in herp taxonomy, which
Yeah.
is wild when you look at a Glades yellow rat, an all yellow animal, to a greenish rat up in South Carolina. It's like that's crazy. This is the same animal. That's wild.
Yeah, and I don't know. I hate that. I understand it. Like I get the science, but
Yeah.
I hate that it's not even taken into consideration. You know
Okay.
what I mean? Like especially when you think about size differences. Like
Yeah.
like stuff
matters.
from South Florida, not that big.
Yeah.
Our stuff is gigantic. Like
Yep.
I have
Yeah.
found 7-foot yellows in my
Yeah.
area before. And it's
Yeah.
just.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's kind of like the taxonomy though with like Papuans and gelatins.
Yeah.
Like,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Papuan carpet's the same genetics as a Darwin, which is
Yeah.
also the same genetics as a gelatin, which is in the middle of the fucking continent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're talking about rat snakes, American rat snakes, and we're talking about
Australia.
Yeah.
How
Australian
do you
rat
guys feel? Australian rat snakes. How do you
Yeah.
guys feel about subspecies?
I'm with it.
I'm with
You're
it.
with
I'm
it.
all
Yeah,
You're
with
with it.
100%.
Interesting.
it. Yeah.
Very
Hundred
interesting.
percent. That's why with the rat snake thing, I
Uh-huh.
wish they would just make them subspecies.
Okay.
Like that. That to me would make the most sense.
Mhm.
That way you're at least taking into consideration the physical attributes and the physical differences.
Mhm.
Because you also like, you know what a Descartes rat is.
Mhm.
Yeah, from the Keys.
Yeah. Mhm.
Very obviously different from any of the other rat snakes. Much
Yep.
much smaller.
Yep.
These literally live on an island. They act different. They look different. Everything about them is different. But they're still a fucking eastern rat snake.
Yep.
And I'm like,
Yep.
I just at least make it a subspecies.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. Taxonomy's fake. That's all.
Yeah.
That's,
So
that's,
do you think with greenish rat snakes, you think
They're
they're
still
more
young.
like you think they're like the range, like the yellow rats just look like that in that area locality, or do you think that they are like intergrade
I
between
don't
the
think they're not an integrate. So
Okay.
I will die on that hill because I've seen a true intergrade yellow and black. This
Yeah.
thing
Yeah.
it wasn't just because like we have really dark yellows with a lot of black on them.
Mhm.
This thing was mostly black, had some yellow saddles on it, and had a yellow sock on its head with
Yeah.
like this black coming up on the edge. Like
Yeah.
you look at it and you're like,
No,
that's
yeah.
an intergrade,
Yeah, someone
but
just
like,
posted one on Facebook, I think
yeah,
maybe a month or two ago. I saved those pic. I screenshot because I was like, I need to keep this. I need to know what this
yeah,
looks like.
like that to me is a true intergrade. Now
Yeah.
and that's why it doesn't make any sense because if you go up to like Gabe's part of the neck of the woods,
Mhm.
a lot of people call them greenish and they say greenish are intergrades. You got to travel hours to see black rats,
Yeah, yeah.
like at least 2-3 hours, up to see black rats. To me, intergrades are, if I can throw a rock, if I can drive 30 minutes, find black rats, drive 30 minutes back, find yellows, that intergrade zone is like right there.
Okay.
That makes
Yeah,
sense. If
yeah.
I have to drive 2 hours to find one color phase and then that's not an intergrade. I
No,
think
yeah. Okay.
it's for one, it's colder here than it is in
Mhm.
Central Florida.
Right.
Dark colors help with colder
Mhm.
weather. You
Yep.
absorb the heat better.
Thermoregulation, yeah.
The habitat's also different. We have more darker. Y'all have more sandier areas, lighter
Yeah.
habitat. We have
Yeah.
darker, much more pine, barren
Yeah.
woods. I think that plays a part into it.
Yeah,
So
for
I
sure.
think it's just variation based on where they're found.
dude,
And
why? That's why I don't understand why people can't take that into consideration. That a lot of these almost all reptiles, adapt and change based off
exactly,
where they are in their environment.
exactly.
How hard is it to believe that? Yes, what would you say it is? Gene wise or makeup wise, yes, a yellow rat snake from South Florida is the same makeup in genes or whatever it may be that is a black rat.
Mhm.
But obviously, from the range that those are found, the in betweens,
Mhm.
that's all nature's way of letting them adapt to whatever the environment is in between all of that. I just don't understand why that is such a hard thought to grasp, or maybe it isn't a hard thought to grasp and it's just not brought into
Yeah.
consideration, and it's just, oh, let's come up with all these other theories, and animals are mating with this animals to make this animal, other than the fact that, hey, this is kind of just how Mother Nature took its course with
Yep.
everything else
Yeah.
on the spectrum, and this is it. This is how this animal adapts to its environment, and this is how this animal adapts to environment. Like,
Yeah, for sure.
pretty
For sure.
freaking wild.
Even with we were talking about subspecies, I keep most of the snake, more than half the snakes I keep are Elaptinura, formerly O3ophis tenuris. And so
Yeah.
with this whole subspecies thing, I can see visual differences between these animals. Vietnamese blue
Mhm.
beauties getting up to 8 feet, sometimes plus in length, whereas
Yeah, I was
a
about to say,
freeze
look
eye
at skies.
Chinese beauty, yeah,
You got
a
a
Chinese
niner,
beauty
bro.
stays around 4 or 5 feet. It's like,
Fuck.
how are those?
Yeah,
Like, genetically they don't grow bigger, so it's like, how is this similar? And then you
right.
have like it's also respective to ecosystems. Ridley's cave racers, they practice virtual, what's the word, I forget the word, but it's like basically when species that dwell in like complete darkness or like cave systems
Mhm.
like develop certain morphologies. Like you have in South America, you have blind tetras or blind cavefish that don't have eyes and they're completely
Yeah.
translucent. You know, stuff
Yeah.
like that. You have your Ridley's cave racers that are super weird in coloration for a snake. There's
Damn near
grays,
translucent.
sometimes purples,
Yeah.
light yellows. It's like, why is this snake have a grayscale filter on it?
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
because they're living in caves, color did not matter in
Right.
the process for their genetics. Um, and so
Yeah.
all that stuff plays factors. All that stuff makes things different. So with subspecies, I'm kind of like, I don't know. I see arguments for yes, I see the argument for no, but more than anything, in terms of like the just species concept,
Mhm.
I love the biological species concept because for me
Right.
personally, it's the only one that's actually tangibly measurable. You know, granted, you have to attempt hybridization to determine species lines, you know. However, at least at that point, it's like you can tell what will produce fertile offspring and what is closer to another. You know, with I saw recently, maybe 2 years ago, a corn snake bull snake hybrid, and I was like,
Oh my
that is the
God.
craziest thing I've ever seen. I hate
It's
hybrids, but it was still something that I was like, that is insane. How close those two animals are to each other to be able to reproduce and then have fertility. It's like that's crazy. These animals are way closer than separation from like you if these were animals in previously different families, that would make no sense. That would absolutely make no sense.
I actually saw one of those on Morph Market for the first
Oh,
time a couple weeks ago, and I
dude.
sent it to Chris, and I was like, "What kind of abomination is this?"
Yeah,
Like,
Boy.
yeah.
because it was, I believe, it was actually a pine snake, corn snake. It may have been a
Mm,
bull snake. I can't remember, but it was like the worst thing I've ever seen.
disgusting. Yeah.
They call them, what do they call them? Turbo corns.
Disgusting.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Disgusting.
They call it's a clutch turbo corn hybrids.
Yeah. Nasty.
And yeah, no, I'm like, dude, and don't get me wrong, it's the weirdest looking. It's like got a corn snake head with a picture of his
It's
body, and
so
I'm like,
weird. So
this
weird.
is an abomination, and
You
I
also have
don't like it.
an animal with no keeled scales paired to an animal with very keeled
Right,
scales. You know, all these
right.
differences, like putting them together is insane. Especially
Like,
different
What?
ecosystems. Bull snakes are not semi-arboreal. They are found
no.
mostly in burrows. You
That
know,
snake is so confused, dude.
do I climb? Do I not?
Yeah,
The
it's like
hole?
people trying to put ball pythons to green trees. Like that's like, oh
Yeah,
my gosh,
yeah. Or even green anacondas and boa constrictors.
oh my
I
gosh.
don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah. I want to swim, but that sounds scary.
I want to
This
swim, but
tree
I
is
also
too
want to
high.
fish. Shit.
No, yeah,
Oh
for
my
real,
god.
for real. And so,
That's
so
that's
like
when you just put a giant water dish on top of a pig, you
you
know.
put the
On top
water
of
in the
it.
tree. That's what you do.
Right, right. God.
No, and so with the whole DNA in terms of like clades determining species that way, I'm fine with it as long as there's standards for it. You know, if you have
Absolutely.
set standards for what determines the DNA similarity of a species is within this percentage, fine, great, awesome. Now we have clear lines for where species are. Otherwise, you just have people deciding whatever they want. It's like, you know what? It's enough for me, so I'm gonna write it down.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that was a whole other can of worms.
Yeah.
Back to field herping.
Back to the field herping.
So this is one of my favorite questions for absolutely no fucking reason. Road cruising versus hiking.
Oh,
What
hiking for
what
sure.
really? You
Yeah,
take hiking
hiking
over
for
road
sure.
cruising?
So
Okay. Okay.
for me, if you're looking for numbers, yeah, road cruising's the best bet.
I mean,
But
yeah.
honestly, I feel more so much more reward out of hiking, especially physically. Like after you go through a day of hiking, you're like afterwards you're like, man,
I feel
I
good.
love 7 mile hikes. Who would have thought? You know? And then just being in habitat and seeing where snakes should and shouldn't be. I think also it just makes you a better herper in general. You're kind of like seeing
Absolutely.
where snakes usually like to be. You know, you're seeing the
Yeah.
habitat that they're living in. And then I'm also like into a lot of other things. I'm really into plants. I'm really into insects and invertebrates, you know, all that other kind of stuff. So it's
Nerd.
like you see, yeah,
I'm just
but
kidding.
like you see so much more of that when you're out hiking rather than, you know, cruising.
We were talking about that when me and Tina went out. We were like, I think it was he. I think he asked me what I like better. We were just both asking each other. Fucking, we were playing 21 questions on the hike,
Yeah,
but we were both like, yeah, road cruising definitely has its benefits, but like being out in the field, feeling Mother Nature, even if you're sweating your ass off, because like we were getting slammed by humidity. We're like, you know, we're getting slammed by humidity and we got soggy ass feet. Like,
yeah,
this hike is sick. Like
yeah,
the habitat's fucking amazing. Like the views are amazing. We're seeing little cool spiders. Like
yeah,
lizards everywhere. I mean, the freaking lizards were. We saw a million lizards, so
yeah,
that
You
was,
see, you see the little stuff when you're hiking a
oh
lot
yeah,
more.
Oh
You
yeah,
know.
it
for
slows you
sure.
down. It takes you out of that fifth gear and throws you back to first for a
Not
second.
to not to be an addict about it either. There is a certain high that is experienced when you see, like, let's say an Eastern Diamondback come across the road, right? And you're
Mm.
like, okay, on asphalt, cool, let's go. It is completely different when you see
Oh
one
yeah.
under a saw palmetto, or like I've one of my favorites. Actually, I threw a picture up there. Look, this is why I send the pictures.
Yes.
There's
Yes.
a pygmy rattlesnake.
Anytime you have a picture that you want me to bring up, just let me
There's
know.
a pygmy rattlesnake, literally like almost looks like a semi-arboreal pit viper, like in a fence. He was in a fence for a wildlife management area, and he's like like coiled up, and he's like in strike posture from there.
I know which one you're talking about. I just gotta find it.
Yeah, and so for me, that's like you don't see that like a pygmy on asphalt, fire, but not as fire as a pygmy hanging from a
That's
tree.
so sick. It's in the last bigger set of pics.
Ah,
Uh,
here we go. I got it.
it's
It was on the side of my computer
Yeah,
where I couldn't see it.
so sick.
Hold on. Hold on. There we go.
yeah.
Yeah, that's
Like I did
awesome.
not prop that animal up. That was in situ. That animal just sat there like that.
Yeah.
That's so sick.
And dude, can we talk about like when you flip something? You
Oh yeah,
know, it's kind of like opening a present. You
yeah,
know, like it's the best feeling when you're like, oh,
yeah.
I'm gonna. It's one thing when it's tin, like it's obviously awesome, but like
Hmm.
when you roll a log over, you're like,
Oh yeah,
this one piece, I picked this out. I'm gonna roll this rock over. That
yeah.
was my thing because you talked about finding the black rat in Virginia.
Hmm.
I wasn't fortunate enough to find a snake, but I was in Tennessee for a long weekend with my family, and I thought I liked hiking till I did it in the mountains. Not a fan. Not a
Yeah,
fan. But I saw this big old rock, and I was like, I'm gonna flip that
I'm
rock.
gonna flip
Like
it.
that's just a silly
Yeah,
rock.
yeah,
Like I'm gonna flip that sucker.
yeah. Hmm.
So I whipped it up, and I was with my sister, and there's this big old red salamander under it, and I lost my
Yeah,
mind, dude.
yeah,
Danielle was with. She was like, "Why are you so hype over a salamander?" I was like, "Shut
yeah,
up!
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
you don't
yeah,
get it." Like
yeah,
it was that
yeah,
was honestly one of my favorite finds this year, just because
okay,
it was just random. It was a salamander. Salamanders are
yeah,
awesome. I was in the mountains,
yeah,
like my legs hurt. It was a horrible time, but I
yeah,
found that salamander. I was flipping. I was a flipping fool when we were
yeah,
doing that.
yeah. Better than on asphalt, right?
It was. That's also cool though. Whenever you see a big snake in the
Oh
headlights,
yeah,
like kind of far away, you're like, "Oh shit! Like there it
let's
is."
go. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
No,
yeah,
I'm
for
with
sure.
you, man.
There's
It's definitely you learn a lot more hiking it for sure.
mhm, there's another picture of a pine woods litter snake. Um, and yes, very common snake, but not too often seen. To be honest, it's not like rare
No,
by
dude,
any means. But
pine
most of
woods
the time,
are
people.
that's my
Yeah,
favorite
yeah.
like micro.
Really? I
Yeah,
mean, they're
I
super
love
cool.
them.
They're
Love them.
the only genus in North. They're the only members of that genus in North America. The rest of them
Really,
are in Latin America, which is
that's
crazy. I'm like,
awesome.
why is the range so discount?
Right.
They
But
remind
no,
me of
yeah, with the pine woods, I'm honestly behind a neighborhood. My friend Chuck took me to the spot, and I lift up this huge blanket that I'm like, there is 100% a snake under there. This blanket has been there for so long, it's already like basically a part of the floor. So I'm like,
Right.
all right, I'm lifting this thing. I lifted it up, see the little pines with it. I'm like, yes, let's go,
fuck
let's
yeah.
go. Yeah.
Nah, that was a win, bro.
So yeah, yeah, it is a win. I guess one thing I forgot to mention with what's in my herp bag is I always carry a plastic bag um, to go ahead and pick up trash whenever I see it. So that way, you're cleaning up the environment while you're there, because otherwise, who else is going to be in the middle of the woods, looking for anything?
True.
You can be the one to go ahead and pick that trash. So I usually it's in my backpack, so I usually just throw that in my backpack.
Very good. I like that. I like that a
Yeah,
lot.
yeah,
Nah, man, pinewood snakes are so cool. They have little they have like house snake heads.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's what
Like
house snakes.
I
yeah.
love it, man. They're so cool. I
Yep, the
actually
iridescent
I found
venomous
one.
too.
Yeah, yeah. I've only seen a couple of them here, and they've always been road cruising. I've only found them road cruising, and so I found a couple one night. Hadn't seen one in years, and on this road, I've been hitting. I say like crazy. I try and go every couple weeks.
Yeah, yeah,
I found a DOR on the side of the road there, and I was like, it had to be the freaking pine woods, dude.
yeah,
I love those little snakes, man.
yeah.
I find decays and red bellies
Hmm.
pretty semi frequently,
Okay.
But
Yeah,
man, those pine wood slitter snakes, man. As far as the little micro species go,
yeah,
they're so cool.
yeah, yeah.
They're so
They're
cool.
cool. And here in Florida, I mean, Sky knows we have. I don't know if actually they have them up north a little further. They probably do, honestly. Like the
What?
big carpenter ants.
Oh
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, huge
Oh yeah.
carpenter ants. Yeah, and so sometimes the pine woods eat the larvae, and I'm like that is so
Really?
cool. Yeah,
Oh, I didn't know that.
yeah,
That's cool, man.
pretty sick, pretty
I
sick.
love them. I love them. Love them. How about all the ringnecks we found on the herp trip, man?
I like ringnecks a lot. I
I
think
do.
ringnecks are really pretty, especially like and again subspecies. You have different subspecies all throughout the U.S., and so you can see like how they range from like almost all yellow bellies to like reds, orange, yellow bellies. And
Mhm.
I think the Keys has like probably the rarest snake in North America. It's the Keys ringneck, and it is just so beautiful. It is crazy the underbelly of that snake.
I did notice that. I think it was when me and Preston Converse we're heading to you, Sky. I think it was the day before we went to your place. We were herping Preston's neck of the woods when he was still in Florida, and I just so happened to be digging in this. A tree had fallen over, and so I was digging like in the stump. All of a sudden, I saw this little tiny tail dip down. I was like, "Oh shit!" And I whipped it out. It was a little ringneck, and I was like, "Why is the belly orange? Like this is so weird." Because ours are yellow here. They have the yellow
Mm-hmm.
bellies
Yep.
around here, as you saw. And
Mm-hmm.
but out there, it had like this orangey red belly, and
Yep.
I was like, "This is freaking
see,
crazy,
I've
dude."
Yeah.
found ones that are literally like orange to red to pink, or like
Yeah,
orange to pink
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
vibrant red. Like,
I love it when at the cloaca it changes color and you have the
yeah,
yeah,
whole tail a
yeah,
different color. It's like
yeah,
so nice.
yeah.
yeah. It's
Yeah.
awesome, man.
Yeah.
Well, you gotta pay attention to those little micro species,
Yeah.
man. They're
Yeah.
they're cool. They have just little isms about them that are just neat. They're cool little
Yeah. Yeah.
snakes.
Yeah. For sure.
Um, but changing gears a little bit, this is something me and Sky both wanted to talk to you about.
Mhm.
Um, we know you go to meetings to kind of speak on problems, like I think a recent one you spoke in court about gopher tortoises.
Mhm.
So talk about that a little bit and why it's important and how people can get involved and what they can do to show up to those meetings.
Yeah. Yeah. I think conservation like really like the strong. How do I say this? The highest value output for conservation work is going to be locally. You know,
Mhm.
the money that you have, the time that you have, uh, the presence that you have is going to matter more in your local areas. And so, uh, if anyone's watching, go ahead and look up your local plant societies, look up your local environmental organizations. They're probably posting out a lot of you know areas that need more protection or laws that need to be passed a little bit more strictly for all these kinds of things. And you guys can actually participate in that. You can reach out, and be like, hey, are you guys doing any events, any outreach, anything like that that I can be a part of, that I can help with? Because all that's really important. Yes, donating to tiger conservation is super important. Donating to the sea turtles is super important. But at the same time, like your conservation is going to be of more value where you're at. So then with the recent thing, I attended like 3 meetings consecutively. I attended the FWC meeting, which is Florida Fish and Wildlife. I attended the BCC meeting, which is Board of County Commissioners for Orange County, and then also the CFX Expressway Authority, which is the highway system here we have in Florida. The plan is that so 30 minutes for me is a wildlife management area. It is a protected area. It splits two counties. It's between Orange and Osceola County. it's protected by 4 agencies. That's Orange and Osceola County, that's FWC, and it's the Florida Communities Trust. CFX, another organization, the highway organization, wants to put a road through Split Oak. Because of Friends of Split Oak, because of Safe Split Oak organization, they've been making it such a headache for this to pass, like for this to happen. And so at the last point, like the last thing that they proposed is that they would only affect 160 acres, 60 acres directly, 100 acres indirectly on the southern part. So no longer in Orange County. That was the last proposition from CFX. What happened was is that Orange County said no. You know, FWC, the meeting that I went to, they said yes because the CFX basically bribed them. They increased their offer from, I don't even remember what it was, but it had to be like a couple 100,000 to like
Wow.
$37 million, like a huge increase the day before. And that the commissioners would be deciding this issue. Osceola County is in support of it, but only the Osceola County commissioners, because it's really hard to get the public involved in Osceola County because of how county laws work. I don't want to get too into it, but a lot of the public does not even know that this issue is going on in Osceola County, and so the commissioners are just, they're not allowing the people to vote on it. They're not bringing it to the ballot. And then the Florida Communities Trust already said, yeah, whatever, do whatever you want.
Love that.
And so, yeah, it's awful. And if you know anything about FWC, a lot of people in the reptile industry or in general hate their local fishing games. But FWC actually does really good work in conservation and protecting our environmental spaces.
Yeah.
However, at the head of FWC, the commissioners, there's no requirements for their qualifications. They don't even have to have been to college. They don't have to have any environmental background, nothing. They're appointed by the governor, so you can't even vote them in. You can't even get into FWC as an employee and then work your way up the ranks to become a commissioner. You can't. They're appointed by the governor. And so Ron DeSantis, when he was elected, chooses these people, likely because they were big donors to his campaign, being inland development, retail, or not retail, housing. And then one of them is literally, and I say this like affiliations because they can't put their names on a lot of stuff, but one of them is literally affiliated with a golf course development company. So it's like all these people are appointed to head the Florida Fish and Wildlife Commission. And it's like it's so corrupt, it's so stupid, and they can decide, and like I can go up there on the podium and say do whatever I want. There's literally reels of me on Gopher Games film, and there's also I'm also on the Safe Split Oak, and I'm literally calling out these people and their affiliations, and honestly, I think it's part of the reason some of them voted no, or like a soft no, or like even entertained more discussion about it, because of that. But at the end of the day, they had already made the decision. With the CFX, one of the members of the CFX, because I went to that meeting as well, one of the CFX board members is a Orange County commissioner, and so when I went up to talk at that meeting, I was like, hey, Mayor Demings, who is also the mayor of Orlando, I was like, Mayor Demings here is a representative of Orange County, and we voted no on this issue. We voted no road through Split Oak, Split Oak Forest, and so I'm sure he's going to vote in kind, and he was the only dissenting vote. He was the only one that said, I'm going to say no to the road, but he was also, because he also wants the road. He also wants the road. The thing is that he's like, oh, there are people here that are seeing that I am here, so let me not vote to directly oppose the people that voted me into this position, But he offhandedly said, this is the best of a bad situation, I appreciate the work that these people have been doing, yada yada yada, but to stand with my constituents, I'm gonna vote no. And I'm like, great, we got one. And it's because you're obligated, basically.
Yeah, that was like a kind of one.
Yeah.
Like,
I want it, but I won't publicly say I do.
Right.
Yeah, it's
Wow.
awful. It's awful. It is at this point. It's kind of up to not legislation, to legal measures. I think Friends of Split Oak is currently, I mean, don't quote me, I think there is a current pending lawsuit against the Florida Communities Trust to try to stop this. But at the end of the day, if Osceola County can also get behind it and they start knowing more about this issue, then they can probably put a lot more pressure on their commissioners to be like, hey, whoa, we didn't know about this issue, stop doing this. you know. But when I was literally there when FWC like took a bribe with extra land and money to go ahead and just sell up. The thing with Split Oak too is that it's already mitigated land to offset development in Orlando. They were like, hey, we need an area to go ahead and maintain habitat for Florida scrub jays and gopher tortoises. So they did that. A four-party, I mean, four people have to sign off on this for them to do anything with that land. And that's just one thing short of a national park. A national park can never be touched ever. But that four different agencies controlling one thing, that's the next best thing. And so this is already mitigated land, and now they're accepting more mitigated land to mitigate more construction through protected land. It feels like if you've ever seen the movie Hoot or like any environment, if you're in the Lorax, it literally feels like you're in a movie. It's insane. It is insane. It just gets worse and worse.
Twisted rig system that doesn't make any sense.
That's for sure. That's for sure. But we got to do it. We got to do it. As much as it's like you want to despair and you want to just like start committing,
And
I
I
don't say
so
terrorism, but like green terrorism, like Greenpeace,
right.
Shepherd, it's you just gotta show up. It's rough.
Yeah, so it sounds a little bit more gloom and doom than it is, and I think that's half the problem is people are like, oh, what I say isn't gonna matter, so I'm not gonna go. So why is it important to show up?
If we don't care, no one's going to.
Exactly.
And I think even if you can't stop it, even if there's nothing you can do against, and let's say any situation, let's say a foreign injustice, a war that's going on, anything political. If you decide to do nothing, no matter what side you're on, like how do you live with yourself to an extent? How do you like look at yourself in the mirror and say, I believe these things. I'm a good person. I want these things to happen, and then just have done nothing when you could have at least been there. Not that it doesn't even change anything. It's more like to an extent, it's almost personal.
Yeah.
Right.
Like if I don't do anything, well, who am I?
Yeah, stand on business if you're going to talk and be like that.
That's my stance on it all. And I'm not going to get into politics or anything, but when it comes to stuff like politics and this scenario, if you don't do anything, you can't complain. That's always been my standpoint. Like if you don't vote, don't complain about who's in office. Like you didn't put in your 2 cents. It could all be rigged, and whatever you do isn't going to matter anyways. But you didn't do anything. So shut up.
When we talk about conservation, like a lot of the times people say like, turn off your running water, recycle, all these things, all these little things. And yes, everyone has to do their part, but for the most part, it's large corporations that are doing a lot of these atrocities, and that only changes when policy changes, which changes when we vote. A large part of conservation work happens when you go to the polls and you vote. And that's why it's so important. Unfortunately, if anyone saw, I'm not going to get too into politics, but if anyone saw the last political debate, there was slight mention about climate efforts and climate change and all that. And I will say I was very disappointed in both candidates and their lack of caring at all for the environment, and instead going back to previous issues during their time. And it is sad. It is sad as people who care for the environment. You see like the issue that you really, really care about, just like kind of dismissed, like we're not gonna do. Who cares?
Right.
It's depressing. It is depressing.
It's sad, man. And
especially when Mother Nature is the only thing we got that's going to keep us going. Like,
yeah.
It's wild. It's wild for sure.
But all of this is also why field herping is so important, you guys. Get out there. I know it sounds bad, but enjoy it while we have it. Because nothing says it's always going to be there. Like enjoy. Go to your national parks whenever you can. Go support your WMAs. My God, support your WMAs. Get a hunting license. All that stuff is so important.
For a positive note, did you see what happened with FDEP, Florida Department of Environmental Protection? So it was a huge thing. I'm sure Sky has heard of it, but there was an effort by the FDEP to go ahead and impose like pickleball courts, hotel housing or like tourist housing, tennis courts, golf courses on Florida parks. There was a whole push. I'll send you guys a whole bunch of documents. There's a whole thing in Florida. People like crushed out. And when we heard about it, this is what happened. The FDP announces that they're going to do this, and they're going to have a single meeting, or 1 day meeting in 7 different locations at the 7 different parks that they want to do. They're going to have it in 7 different locations at the same time, same day, with 1 week notice.
And it's tomorrow. Yeah, that's what I say. And it's tomorrow.
With
That's
1 week notice. When
that's
I tell you, like,
insane.
a whole bunch of my friends were posting it on their stories, this, that, and the other. Like, who's coming? Who can I carpool with? Who can I take? I literally was like, I heard of it, and I messaged one guy, and we're like, yeah, we're gonna carpool, we're gonna go, because it's like you really did that to disperse the kind of people that would want to go to those things. You're making it harder for them to organize, to rally against it, to spread the information. And I'm so proud of the Floridians, of the artists, of the political factions, of anybody that was involved with trying to stop this, the work that they did, because eventually DeSantis came out during an unrelated press conference, and they said that oh, this was a half-cocked bill. It's going back to the drawing board, this, that, and the other. And it's like, let's go. I mean, technically, when we heard that, we're like, well, it should die, not back to the drawing board.
Not back to the drawing board, but
And eventually, FDP said they were going to kill it. Yeah, I think they came out and they're like, yeah, it's done. But to be honest, they're still going to try later on. And that's why being so involved in your local politics, your local conservation issues, all that stuff is important, so that you know what's going on. You know what's going on, and you can support or not support whatever it is. If you stay ignorant, or if you stay like not knowing, then it's like it's hard to. When stuff happens, it happens. You could have done something about it, but it's over now.
And if you don't, shut up.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, man. I stand by that. Like, if you don't do anything, don't complain.
Nope. Yep.
Like that. So that might hurt some people's feelings, and I'm sorry if it does, but it's the hard truth, man. Like, if you don't do anything, you can't complain about it.
Yeah.
But, well, so everybody, just do your part.
Yep.
That's all we can say about this.
What was it?
Try to be involved.
Yep.
Like you said, though, sometimes it's very overwhelming thinking about all this stuff, but then it's even more overwhelming thinking about how do we save the whole world? How do we save all these animals everywhere? When, like you said, I really like what you said, start with your local conservation, because one, not only is it going to be a more obtainable goal, but you'll see stuff. You'll reciprocate something out of your efforts, rather than you just throwing money into this giant jungle saving organization, and you never know if it even got there or if you saved the rainforest or not.
Absolutely.
It actually gets you logged in and involved, and you might be able to make some connections that'll actually, matter.
And that's especially important with like captive reptile husbandry. We have a lot of laws changing the things that we can do, changing the things that we can keep. And if you are not involved in conservation work, or actively donating, actively doing something beneficial for the environment, even if you're not committing the sins of the reptile hobby, you're still complicit in it. You're still participating in something that benefited from past horrible things, and I feel that we have an obligation to give back. We have an obligation to protect our natural spaces and our native animals, just alone from the virtue of keeping them. And I think a lot of organizations, a lot of big companies, not going to name any names, but a lot of big faces in the reptile industry don't do shit for conservation, and they really should. They really should, especially if they're the ones fucking it up for everybody else.
Yeah, very well put.
Yep.
Like, you're the one screwing everything up for us, but you're not doing nothing about it.
Nope. Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Appreciate that, big guy.
Yeah.
A couple of them claim that everything they do is for conservation.
I don't care how long this goes, because this is the hill that I will die on. So a lot of people in the reptile industry have this ideal of an invisible arc, right? And while yes, on paper makes sense, if these animals anything happens to them in the wild, we have captive resources, right? One, that is never going to happen, because none of the animals that we have can ever go back into the wild. Especially when you're working with hybrids, you're working with inbred, you're working with morphs. None of that stuff can go back. None of it. And if you're not keeping stud books of wild caught animals, if you're handing wild caught animals to 5-year-olds at reptile expos, None of that stuff is ever good for conservation. None of
But
that is going to be beneficial.
it's an insurance colony.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
will
A
say the
zoo
only
or FWC is going to come to your door and say, "Hey, that snake that you have in that tiny ass bin, he's going to go back outside and start reproducing."
right.
And it's like,
I,
no, no, it's never happened. Never going to happen.
I will say on the aspect of putting, that's a wild caught snake, whatever snake into somebody's hands. No, it doesn't do any good for conservation directly, but
Mhm.
you can change that person's perspective on snakes. Therefore, they don't kill the next snake they see, which
Right.
does
I'm
help
not saying
conserve. So
right. I'm not saying
that is an example to where it can, but as a
yeah.
whole, directly, no.
Yeah, I will say
It's
yes. The education is tantamount.
yeah,
Telling people that snakes are not as bad as media or as tradition tells them is essential for snake conservation.
right.
Um, I will also say that, and this is something I say all the time, every podcast, every comment section, no matter what, I will say wild caught animals are not pets. I think if you are obtaining a wild caught animal, it is because you have researched that animal indefinitely. You are either experienced in having bred that animal or experienced with similar animals, very similar animals, it would say up to within the same genus sometimes, you know. And then three, you have that obligation to reproduce that animal in captivity so that it lessens pressure on wild populations. If we keep someone who has worked in reptile industry, in reptile stores and such, I have seen like I have seen boxes of Euromastics, boxes of Savannah
Oh my
monitors,
god.
boxes of normal classic wild type morph ball pythons. 100, 200 ball pythons. I'm like, and so that's my thing. It's like, oh, it lessens. It's better for the environment if we have captive snakes. We have 1,000 snakes, 10,000 snakes on Morph Market, ball pythons, and we're still bringing 200 from the wild every single reptile store.
Yeah, like
That's crazy.
why are we doing
That
that?
is
Like that's
insane. And so if we cannot figure out savanna monitors to breed them in captivity, if we because we definitely figured out ball pythons, if we cannot like just price these animals down to compete with wild caught prices, what are we even doing? There's no stopping it. It's just going to stop
no.
eventually when a field
When they're
research
gone.
organization, yeah, when it says, hey, they are now critically endangered.
Yeah.
Sorry guys, we're
We
closing
can't
it off.
find Savannah monitors anymore. Guess what? like
Hey, you
Yep.
remember how we've been sending you guys 1,000 of them for 100 years now? We can't find anymore.
yeah. You
Yeah,
can't sell them for
wow, why did that
$20
happen?
anymore.
Yeah,
That's I
yeah,
don't
it's
know
never gonna
how.
stop.
I don't know why. Like it
Yeah,
just happened. There's no
yeah.
more Savannah monitors.
Yeah. So for
That
me,
is like
wild caught animals are not pets. If you have a wild caught animal, you have an obligation to breed that animal, or to an extent, give it to someone that will. Because
yeah,
for me, it's like you took that animal out of the wild, and now it's not doing anything. It's not.
right.
It's doing nothing for the environment when it should have been, and you also complicitly supported an organization to continue doing that.
Yeah. There's very very specific scenarios to where I will wild collect and when I say very anybody who knows me knows it's not a secret. Like I have wild caught animals, but it's very conscious.
Hmm. You're
It's very
breeding those animals. You're not
right.
keeping them in 40-gallon enclosures in your house
No,
with
like
on
I'm
aspen bedding and a red bulb.
right. Like, but it's also like stuff that's hurting. I wouldn't even think about it.
No.
But even then, like for me, if I'm wild collecting, it's a baby that's realistically gonna die anyways from human interaction, wild
Mhm.
animals. Like adults, I don't take adults.
No. Yeah.
That's established. It's there. It's obviously done very well. Not going to
Yeah.
do that. That's
Mhm.
hurting the population. Babies are one thing, and then even then, it's like I'm going to get a pair, and I'm going to hope they don't die, like that. And that's that. Like there's a very specific way to wild collect. I don't respect people who just pick any. That somebody told me it was while we were in ANF with Harry.
Mhm.
There was a guy that passed by and he said, yeah, some dude used to drive down here with snake bags, and every snake he saw, he was throwing it in his backpack. And I was like, well,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
Like, I really like it
Yeah.
was just like, yeah, but that's how they did it.
Yeah.
That no, it didn't matter what it was. Didn't matter the species. Didn't matter how big. It was going in the freaking
Yeah.
snake bag and
I'll tell
going
you,
home.
there are some. I'm not gonna name names again, but there are some herp channels out there, not necessarily YouTube channels, but like Instagram personalities, people on Facebook that they'll post awesome herp pics, and then a little bit later you'll see them for sale. You'll see them in someone's house. It happens. People do it, and it's like, geez, man, that's so
Yeah.
messed up. I know people that like, um, I don't know them personally, but I know of people who will go out and just start collecting Nerodia like it's nothing. And it's like, one, if you don't already have people lined up to buy those animals, no one is really buying Nerodia. I'm sorry to
And
break it to you. There's not a lot of people working with Nerodia, so what are you doing?
there's not. And then there's also, but that's the thing. There, it's such a freaking scam. Because one, if you're getting, it's not that Nerodia are hard. I have Nerodia. It's not that Nerodia are hard, but you have to know what you're doing to keep Nerodia. You have to. But the scam is people throw it on a table for 10 to 15, $20.
Yep.
And somebody whose kid wants a snake so
Yep.
bad at the show, they say, okay, I'll spend $20 and buy this wild caught
That-
Nerodia, knowing jack fucking shit about it. They'll stick it in their aquarium at home and it's
Yep.
going to be dead in 5 days.
Yeah,
Like,
this is gonna make a lot of people mad. But to be honest, with
Make 'em
like a
mad.
lot of FWC regulation, I'm pro permit. I really am pro permitting
with you.
animals and
I'm with
having
you.
regulations for what happens, because people buying we're gonna bring it back full circle right now. People buying baby sulcatas on a Repticon table for $60 is crazy.
if even that.
Actually,
if
you
even
guys
that.
saw you guys saw you guys were at Daytona. You guys were at
Yeah.
Daytona.
Yeah.
Did you guys see? And I'm gonna mention him because he's a big name. Everybody knows him. Whatever. He doesn't care. You guys saw Wayne Hill's table with all the turtles.
Mhm.
Did you see how much he priced Indian spotted turtles for? An endangered species, by the way.
Weren't they like insane amount of money, or was it nothing? Really?
$20 each. $20 each. By the time I looped back to the table, they were gone. And there's a turtles. They're my favorite species of turtle. The only reason I don't have them, one, I don't like working with water, but two, they are turtles that get this big. And that doesn't seem like a huge size for most people, but for most people with $20 at a reptile store or at a reptile show, that is not the turtle for you, buddy.
No.
That is.
I'm
not
I'm
what
sorry,
you get.
especially when you're talking about an aquatic turtle.
Yeah.
Do you know how big of a tank you're gonna need for that thing? You're
Yep.
in a pond.
That
Yeah, and
ain't
that's
no
if people got
40
one.
gallon.
That's
yeah.
if people got one with
Right.
$20. I was like, oh, here's 100. I'll take
I'll
5.
take. Oh yeah, I'll take 5 of them right now.
It's
You know.
crazy. It is insane. And for me, it's like there's no point of entry. There's no stopping people from doing that. And then the thing is that as conservationists, as herpers, we are out in the field. We see released pets out in the wild because they got too big. They were too scary. They weren't the cuddly animal that I saw on Instagram. And it's like, oh my God. It's like, if we don't start fixing the problems, then the government's going to come for us. And that's just how it works. That's just natural.
I mean, it's literally currently happening.
Yeah.
You know.
Yep.
Thanks, Jeff. But,
yeah, Mr. Leibowitz. Yeah.
I'm not afraid to say that name.
No,
Not afraid.
everyone knows.
Yeah,
his name
it
right
is
now.
your fault, buddy. Like South Carolina's fucked because
Yeah.
of you. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's still talking shit like he's some badass.
Oh my God. Anti-venoms for pussies. Anybody have any alien type
That's so
anti-venom?
wild.
I'm just,
wild.
dude. I
with the whole situation, I was like, I don't wish death on anybody, but for me, I was like, play stupid games, you win stupid prizes.
win stupid prizes. Yeah, dude. We're not gonna get into it. I am.
That's a whole other podcast.
The anger that resides in me for that man is. It leaves me
insane.
speechless.
Yep.
Like I know.
Yeah, because this stuff started
No.
coming up in my feed beforehand, and so
Yeah.
I was already like, I know who this guy is. Skip, get him off.
Yeah, absolutely. Just from the little bit I saw, I was like, there's a lot of people who do a lot of dumb stuff, aka free handling.
Yeah.
And they're all going to get theirs eventually. But I was like, this is going to be the first guy to do it. Like, it's going to be him.
Yeah,
like, absolutely. And
It's wild.
yeah,
It's
that's
wild.
super fun, super cool stuff coming down the pipeline for South Carolina.
Oh yeah. We'll see.
So yeah, trust me, I'm already planning my escape route. But
Florida.
yeah,
Florida's the way.
yeah, yeah.
Trust me.
Okay. No,
Yeah.
I'm hoping. But dude, even now they're talking about federally putting snakes on the I can't remember the exact term. The list.
The white
Uh,
list.
yeah, not like the
Like a federal registry.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like that, and that's federal.
Yeah.
Like that's not a state. Again, I blame Jeff. But like that's on a federal level, my
And
guy.
as much as I wish we could blame a single individual, it's so many people's
No,
fault.
I blame a
It's
single
so
individual.
much.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
It's this guy, him.
He did it. It was
Yeah.
him.
It's his fault. Anyways, moving on to a
Yes.
lighter note. Field herping. More into field herping. This is another one I like to get everybody's opinion on. I naturalist.
Mhm.
Good, bad,
So
indifferent.
okay.
I feel like you're gonna have the same answers everybody else, but I like to hear.
Actually, I feel like having listened to it, I have a little bit of a different take.
Okay.
So, iNaturalist, for me, fantastic.
Great.
It
Yeah.
is amazing. iNaturalist is a fantastic source for a lot of people, especially people not knowing what they're looking at and being more interested in natural aspects in their environment. Wanting to know what an animal is without just mercilessly, murking it. It's like, wow, awesome, we're doing good. you know. Um, with that said, so I agree that something like iNaturalist has to continue to exist. There has to be a way for people to identify animals and care about the environment. With that said, iNaturalist isn't bad. People are bad, and people will take advantage. I mean, technically, I take advantage of it. I just don't do anything unethical with that information. But I
Right.
use that information to go ahead and harass wildlife. So, but yeah, you use it to be like, okay, where are these animals being found? Let's see this. One of my favorite aspects about iNaturalist, it will actually show seasonality of observation. Most people are seeing this certain species at this time, this month, and I think that's fantastic for any educational environment. You're like, I want to learn more about this animal. Most people are finding them at this time, probably because they're more active.
Right.
There's more of them at this time,
Right.
whatever. And so all that stuff is important, but knowledge is power. People use that power for bad things.
Yeah.
And I've seen people.
Luckily, it does kind of hide. It hides exact locations for threatened species. Like it's
Yeah,
not,
for
you
sure,
can't do
for
an
sure.
exact do an exact and pinpoint on an eastern indigo.
No, for
Like
sure, and that's important. That stuff is important. There's actually
yeah.
an alternate one where if you want to go ahead and just record where an animal was found for scientific purposes, I don't know if it's EDD maps or one of those where you can actually just submit the observation, and the only people that can access it
The
are people who
scientists.
have credentials to be able to have that information. Yeah, and so yes, do that too. If you want to use iNat, go for it. Do not be a shithead about it. Do not be a bad person. I feel like that's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
The best way
And
that
then
I
also report it to EDD Maps for more, because honestly, a lot of conservationists or a lot of biologists aren't using iNat like as their only source, as a super reliable way to find trends. But through there, people are making it so that it's a little bit better.
I think the best way it's been put so far is that iNat's a tool, and the way whatever person is using that tool determines on if it's good or a bad tool.
Yeah. So for me, I've never put a pin on iNat. Never.
Yeah.
I've
No,
never put
I've
an
never put
observation
anything on iNat.
Yeah.
It's kind of like an axe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you using an axe to chop wood? Or are you using an axe to kill somebody?
Yeah.
It's a
Exactly.
tool. It's a tool, but how are you using it? You know?
Exactly.
It's a little drastic. It's drastic, but
And see, so with
I don't even know what that was. Okay.
you want to do that for us again?
Be cool, bro. God.
Be cool, bro. Chill.
Be cool, bro. Be cool.
No,
Lives.
and it's so funny that it's for reptiles, because, and yes, fish too, I guess, for reptiles and for fish, but for mammals, nobody cares. For insects or for plants, nobody
Birds.
cares. And so birds, nobody cares. So it's
Yeah.
like all that stuff is like it's only for those ones that people can go ahead and actively
Right.
put their hands on,
Right.
and that really
Yeah.
sucks.
Very well put, sir. Um, so, as a keeper and herper, how has field herping helped and changed the way you keep your reptiles, and and what are some things you've taken from the field that you do in your collection now?
Yeah. For one, perches for semi-arboreal snakes. Yeah. When you see, I do more hiking than cruising, so I've seen more yellow rats and
Yeah.
red rats up in trees a lot more often
Thank you
than
for
I
calling
do
them
on the
red
ground.
rats.
Yeah, yeah, red
Appreciate
rats.
appreciate that.
Um, and so yeah, for sure, you want to have a lot of different opportunities for the animals to get up off the ground, especially temperature gradients too. Because if you're gonna have only a heightened basking spot, if that animal doesn't want to bask but wants to be up high, sucks to be them. They're gonna have to choose
Right.
a bad option, you know.
Right.
Whereas if you have a lot more options and a lot more choices that these animals can make within their enclosures, that's super valuable to the animal, and also offers its own kind of enrichment because now the animal has to use its brain to make a decision. You know, um, I use cocoa husk a lot of the times. Cocoa husk is like one of my favorite things, especially for holding humidity for cleaning. Fantastic. But for some animals, I do have them on Reptisoil, mix of Reptisoil and sand because it offers a lot of digging opportunity. You
Yeah.
know, for my hognose and for my bull snake, I have them both on sand and soil
Mhm.
because at that point they can go ahead and dig under. You know, they can go ahead and not make burrows per se because obviously I don't have enough depth to these enclosures as I'd like. Um, but they still can, you know, especially seeing them move dirt, like that is a behavior that is only in the wild. You know, where they can go
Mm.
ahead, like especially like indigos or pine snakes, like they're pushing sand out of the burrow to make it easier for them to go in. That is so cool. It is so cool. You know, for me personally, um, with the whole rack versus terrarium argument, I believe racks have their place for sure. I have worked at conservation organizations that keep snakes in racks, you know,
Mhm.
and they also have outdoor enclosures. You know, they
Mhm.
have setup enclosures within glass. You know, there's certainly places for all of these things. I don't keep anything in a rack just because I don't even have that much. I have the
Don't
privilege
look at
to
my
go
background. Don't look at my background.
ahead. I have the privilege to go ahead and put all of my animals into um, nice, appropriately sized enclosures. Um, and I say appropriately sized because obviously, you know, nothing is going to replicate the wild or their natural range
Of course.
for their range of mobility. But I do use tubs myself for quarantining certain animals. If a new
Mhm.
animal comes in, it's going in a bin. You know, I'm not putting it in a whole new tank with the rest of my collection.
Right.
It's going in a bin and it's going away from everything
Right.
I got I
else.
got I got to jump in really quick because you were talking about the burrowing and stuff with the soil and the sand mix.
Mhm.
One of the coolest little experiments I did was for my Eastern king snake. I took I can't remember if it was a 65-gallon long or a 45-gallon long. It was a top opening enclosure. So I literally filled it up like 75% of the way. Like there was only like 2 inches between the top and the substrate.
Mhm.
And that king,
Jesus.
dude, that I called it my adult ant farm because it did nothing but make tunnels and burrow in the whole enclosure. And there was like you could just sit
Yeah,
there
yeah.
and watch it. Like it would
What
have a
snake was
couple
it?
tunnels that came up against the glass and stuff. So you'd see it using all the tunnels and shit. And it was like it would like hide its head underneath a
Yeah.
couple of the holes that it had at the top. So when I'd go to feed, I'd kind of just like check the holes and like
Yeah,
all of a
yeah,
sudden get to one of the holes, boom, a head
Whoosh.
would
yeah.
come up. Be like, okay, all right, you're ready to go.
What
Like
species was it?
Florida king snake.
Oh, Florida King. There you go. Yeah,
Yeah.
fantastic. There was actually a video that because I'm a nerd that Dark Den did Petco where he got a baboon tarantula, you know, and he was saying like the whole thing with the tarantula hobby is that there's not enough substrate, there's not enough space to burrow, you know, and so he custom made an enclosure that was like I want to say like 4 feet tall, 4 feet tall that was skinny
Yeah.
and
Oh
was
yeah.
filled with dirt,
I think
and
I
that
saw.
baboon tarantula went down to the bottom.
Yeah, I
Its
think I
burrow
saw.
was at the bottom of that tank.
And it
Holy
had a little hat
smokes.
and shit at the fucking
Yeah,
top.
yeah, and it's like, and we keep them in things this big sometimes, you know, and it's like, yes, there's places for a lot of things, but it's like what animals use is incredible. It is really incredible. And the more options that you give them, the more choices, you're gonna see them demonstrating so much different behavior, and that's what's rewarding. If I'm gonna keep a snake, I don't want it just sitting in a corner all day doing nothing. A lot of people that say, "Oh, snakes are boring pets." No, your enclosure's boring
Yeah,
because they will use
your snake.
whatever they have.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know if y'all can these bigger bins behind me that are taller.
Hmm.
I have a ball python in one of those, and it's like it's got a wire perch that goes up. It's got fake plants all
Yeah.
through it. You know how many times I've seen that thing sitting on top of that whole
Mhm.
enclosure? I'm like,
Yep.
oh, okay,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
Yeah, my biggest crack up is when somebody tells me either a baby snake or a baby lizard has to be in a certain size enclosure because it'll get too freaked out.
That
Okay.
is.
Well, what about that fucking half-inch knoll in my front yard that jumped off the hood of my car, ran across my 30-yard grass thing, and then ran up a fucking oak tree?
Yeah.
Tell it that little critter keeper is too big. You
Yeah.
go tell him that because he don't know his limits, bro.
Having worked in like literally a retail setting for reptiles, the nightmare stories that I have to give is insane. Like the things that people say, it's like when you get stressed out, these come from outside, right?
right.
Like this thing doesn't live in glass. There's no tanks out there. There are no racks out there.
No.
Now there is the aspect of like, okay, you put a baby ball python in a 40-gallon breeder with nothing but substrate and one hide, it's gonna freak
Yeah.
out. That's not the size enclosure isn't the problem.
Right.
It's how you set it
It's how
up
you
and
use
what you did. Like
exactly. Exactly.
there's
It's
a
like
whole lot
kids.
more goes.
If you
Yep.
fill it, they will use it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
And you need
gotta
to
fill it up.
preferably. Nature is full. You know what I'm saying? There's
Yeah.
full of options. That's why
Right.
these things are good to be outside doing whatever the hell they are in a huge 100-acre area, even though it's
100%.
only an inch long. It's because it can navigate everything. Like
Yep. 100%.
that's like I'll just tab. This is a quick tab. That's literally my biggest like when anyone asks me about the peach throats and setting up their enclosure and like, oh, how should I have it set up? My main thing that I tell them is when your animal is moving across its enclosure, whether that's across, up, down, whatever it is, it needs to be like having a limb or its tail needs to be touching. So like as it's moving forward, it still needs to have tail grabs and rear grabs and like it needs to have every single option so that as it's moving, it feels comfortable knowing that there's security that it's not going to fall. It has an option to get away. There's cover this way, there's cover that way. I'm safe to grab here rather than, well, I gave it a huge space and I put 2 sticks in there as a heat lamp. I don't know why it's not doing anything.
Yeah.
No shit, Sherlock. Like,
there's no cover.
let me throw you in an insane asylum. I'm gonna throw you in the fucking room with nothing else but a lamp and a stick, and I'm gonna go, hey,
eat.
And I'm gonna look at you through a window every day and stare at you.
Cool. Why aren't you doing anything cool yet?
Yeah.
Oh, you're stupid. Okay, I'm gonna throw you in the trash. All right, bye.
Yeah.
Facts.
I'm gonna throw you in the Everglades now.
Another thing with
back to
seeing
EMP
wild snakes.
Go.
Another thing with seeing wild snakes versus captive snakes is that, and I'll end it with this: obesity is so rare; it's almost impossible. And so like a lot of the
people in the back.
yeah, for real. And so like if you have a fat snake, that is completely against what that animal needs. What that animal it's abusive. It is abusive. That animal should not be that way. That animal should not look like that.
Fat animals aren't cute.
No, they're not.
They're not cute. It's sad.
Yeah.
It's
I'm not saying starve your snakes, but snakes can go quite a while without eating. For real.
Appropriate meals, and that's not even snakes, dude. Captive animals,
like
even fat dogs, dude.
Yeah.
Like it makes me
disgusting.
sad.
It's nasty, yeah.
Like it genuinely makes me fucking sad
depressing.
whenever I just see a fat animal because I'm like, dude, that's not good.
Yeah,
like I don't know, man. Everybody says my stuff's small,
house, right?
Huh?
It's normal to just have a cricket come and jump on you while you're doing a podcast.
Yep. He gets fed off right now.
Yeah, right. No, but to me, oh man, I don't even remember what I was saying now.
Sorry.
Oh, so everybody says my stuff's small for their age, and I'm like, is it small or is it appropriate?
Yeah.
Like, my a lot of my 1-2-year-old stuff looks like people's like 6-month-year-old stuff. Like
Yeah.
my 2 to 3-year-olds are like, dude, I got a snake that's a year old bigger than that. And I'm like, well, mine's not underweight.
Yeah.
It's just
I'll tell you
smaller than
something.
yours.
I'll tell you something that a customer had said to me once. They looked at me in my face and said, "I have bred a ball python. I've been able to get a ball python to breeding size at a year and 6 months." And I'm like, "You
I
did
believe it.
what?"
I 100% believe that, dude.
Guess what? That animal's gonna die in less than 5 years
Yeah,
because
Yeah.
that's insane.
dude,
That is
it's
crazy.
that's one of my biggest things. Everybody's like, "Oh yeah, all my stuff dies at like 5 to 10 years old." I'm like, "Why? What are you doing?" I understand things like you can't control. Like I had a snake die from leukemia years ago.
That's wild.
Like really super random.
Yeah.
It just died out of nowhere. So I got an autopsy done or necropsy done, and they're like, "Yeah, it actually had cancer." And I was like, well, that makes me feel like less of a piece of shit because I thought I did something wrong. But no, so things like that, of course, you can't control. But like, I've got a 12-year-old carpet python sitting behind me that's more than okay. Like if your stuff's dying at 7 to 10 years old, my guy, you got something else going on.
When we were in Daytona and I had the carpet python set up in the case or whatever, I had like the babies and then like the juvies and then my bigger ones. And one person stopped to talk to me and was asking me about the babies and stuff. And like we had been talking and he was like looking at one of the snakes and he's like, "So how old is this thing? Like a couple months old?" And I'm like, "No, it's actually a year and 2 months old." And he's like, "What?
It's so small.
So small. Do you even feel like he literally like physically changed his mood to he was like, I'm an abuser now." He's like, "Do you feed your snakes ever?" Because my jungle carpet python, it's only like a year old, maybe. It's like coming up
double that size, dude.
It's like, yeah, he's like, it's like double, almost triple the size. Like it's like that big around. And I'm like, "Well, how often are you feeding?" He's like, "Oh, I give it like, like a small rat or I can't remember what he said. He's like a small mouse or a medium mouse, like every week or so, like 7 days." I'm like, "Well, that's probably why, bud." And I feed my snakes like sometimes only once a month. And he's like, "Once a month?" I'm like, yeah.
I call them carpet pythons with no necks.
Yeah,
because it turns from the jaws into the body.
Yeah. That's the one thing about my big girl. She's a big carpet, at least for a popwin, but she's got this big defined head, that skinnier neck that builds into that wider body. Like if I feed her a medium rat, you can see it. Like, she's
and
not,
you should see the meal in the animal.
Yes, it's like these things aren't colubrids. My biggest rat snake is every bit of 6.5 foot long. His name's Rico. That dude gets a adult mouse or a chick like every 10 days to 2 weeks. Like, you feed them more frequently, but you feed them smaller items. Carpets, bigger items, less frequent because their digestive system is not the same. These are not colubrids. If you're feeding your carpet python every week, that animal is in a constant state of digestion.
Yeah.
That is not a good thing.
I will say too, if anyone has like ball pythons or bull snakes, any species that inhabits a lot of burrows, if you ever want to like switch up mealtime, instead of giving like a big fat small or
bunch of
rat,
little ones,
little ones, because what they do in the wild is they're burrow raiders. They will intrude on a small mammal's burrows. Sometimes they have babies, and they'll just num them all.
Every one of them.
Yep.
I'm gonna run a train on these chicken nuggets.
One thing that I keep a lot of Pituophis, and one thing that I think is super weird but also cool about them that shows that. So Pituophis especially, like they'll raid a burrow and they'll grab something and then they'll feel something touch them and they'll shove that because they crush it. They're killing everything right there so they can just go eat it all.
Dude,
so
my bull, it does the same thing.
My pits, dude, whenever I feed them, they'll come flying out. I'll go to put them in the rack, and they're just they're pushing
Yep.
everywhere, dude.
Yeah,
I
they're
can't get them
strong. They're
back. I
strong.
can't get them back in because
Yep.
they're pushing against everything.
Yep.
I can't, I keep them in racks. I'm not gonna lie
Yeah.
to anybody. But like I can't close the tub because they feel the top of it, or I'm trying to push them down. And they're pushing up. They're like, nah,
Yeah.
like I'm crushing you, dude.
Yeah.
Like it's
I especially
so
love
crazy.
how they just don't care because they're still
Yeah.
eating during that. You do that to a ball
Oh
python,
yeah.
they're dropping it. They're like, I'm done.
Yeah, no, don't touch me. What are you doing?
Don't
You
touch me,
know,
stop
no,
it.
these
The
the
bull
pits
snake,
are
they're like
eating.
literally fighting it, and he's like, nom nom nom
No,
nom.
I'm eating this thing as fast as I can because I'm eating whatever's
I'm
touching
eating
me
your
right
next.
now, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Whatever you are, I want you next.
yeah.
Right. And
For
that's
sure.
that's what I do with pits. I'll give them like, I don't feed them more than like 2 items, but I'll give them 2, large mice. These are 6.5 foot animals. Like
Yeah.
a large mouse is nothing to them.
No.
So I'll feed them 2, 3, or if I go 3, they're like really small mice, and stuff like that.
And bull
Chicks,
snakes will eat anything. I feed frozen
anything,
thawed
dude.
chicks. I feed quail eggs. I fed bull, like not adult quail, but like I think like week old quail.
Yeah,
The bull will eat whatever.
yeah,
Anything.
doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, no, my pines are a little picky. Like I've got albino Florida pines, and the female I had, she was sent to me, and my buddy was like, "Dude, she only eats live. She won't eat frozen thawed."
That's wild.
I was like, "Okay," so I got her, and she ate a frozen thawed mouse the first time I fed her, and I was like, "Oh, like money,"
Are you doing it wrong?
Never touched one after that. And I was like, what the hell? So I gave her a live mouse, boom, crushed it right there. And I was like, okay, well, this is kind of weird. So now I was like, I wonder if she'll eat a rat. Dude, I threw a frozen thawed rat in front of her. She destroyed it.
Yeah.
So she only eats rats. Like that's
Wow.
all she'll eat. She does not eat mice. She
Yeah.
does not mess with it. But they also get into weird habits because like she did eat chicks.
Mhm.
And then she would eat nothing but chicks. And I was like, okay, we're not playing this. Like,
Yeah.
your shit's nasty. Like,
I mean,
I'll
that's
give you.
another thing. Like wild snakes have seasonality in terms of their prey as well. Sometimes
Yeah.
something's available, sometimes it's not.
Mhm.
You can switch it up by seasons too. It doesn't have to be like
that's
variability
that's
every other meal, but they can switch it up sometimes.
I had to cut her off of food for like 3 weeks so she would go back to eating normal things. I'm like,
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's
Back
funny,
to
man.
herping. Florida pines
Yeah,
are my
Back
white
to
whale.
herping.
I have yet to find Florida
Really?
Yep.
That's so. I guess by me they're just southerns by me, but yeah, same.
Yeah.
We're gonna try and find one in about a week and a half.
Oh, best of luck to you guys.
That's the biggest
Sending
target.
all the herper energy that way.
Yeah, that's the biggest target, man. If we, I swear, so
Like,
probably out of my big 4 for here are coach whips,
Mhm.
pine snakes,
Yep.
EDBs, and
Yep.
Simus. Those are the big 4.
No indigo is crazy.
No, and we don't have indigos.
Oh, you're in
South Carolina.
That's right. South Carolina.
Yeah,
That's
no
right.
no indigos here.
No,
So
okay. You're right.
obviously those are on the list, but I'm talking about a state list
Yeah,
here.
right.
Like
For sure.
those are my big 4. And dude,
Okay.
I think pine snake's probably at the top of that list.
Yeah.
If we find a pine snake next weekend, dude, I will probably cry.
Yeah.
And
I will cry. I'm gonna cry because I wasn't there.
Not even kidding. Dude, I would do it. I am like, oh my God, I would lose it, dude.
It'll be a cohesive crying ball.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're just all gonna be bawling our eyes. I'm like, oh my God.
I need to find a actual living one that's not dying.
Yeah.
So there was actually one found. I'm not gonna name the place of this because we're gonna keep this one a secret. But there was a pine found right outside of the WMA we're going to just a couple weeks ago.
Fire.
Black as night, dude. It was so dark, and I was like, "Oh my God!" It's like, gosh, I want to make it happen so bad, so bad.
I'm manifesting it for you.
Please. Good vibes. All right, so we're getting kind of close here. So we'll we'll skip a couple here. What's a life or species you're targeting this year, and are there any new areas or a new state you want to herp?
Like I said, Florida pine. Florida pine is really what I'm looking for. But I guess for targets, I do intend in October to do a little bit of cruising for some Simus I
October,
do have to
baby.
go a little bit higher. Exactly, for October. I do have to go a little bit higher. So, but I do intend to make a couple trips at least to try to get that. Because I want to. I've been hooping harping for a while, but I've only been taking like photography, like really trying to get like really nice pictures of stuff. Within the last maybe year and a half. And so I want to find another more Simus to go ahead and start photographing and get some nice shots of them.
So, do you have a Simus for your state list?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
only
yeah.
it was when I was in
Shut up, Tino.
it was when I was in Gainesville a long time ago.
He's like, yeah, of course I found a Simus, you fucking loser.
I don't know
God.
how common they are up there,
They're
but
not.
it's not like impossible down here.
They're not
Okay.
common here
Gotcha.
at all.
Okay. Yeah.
But,
Actually, I have a picture of my Life for Eastern hog in there. Make some people jealous.
Oh, dude, I have a selfie with my Life for Eastern hog, actually. It's kind of funny. Might have to pull that one up.
Well, we'll have to make a little Hogtober road trip one day, dude.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
sure.
let's do it.
I'm with it. Oh, here you go. Found
Yeah,
it. Found
fuck
this
This is gonna be local.
local. Am I invited? Can I come?
I mean,
Yeah,
if you come to my house first.
I'm gonna come.
I'm gonna come.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, wild. Huge meal in its belly, and just because I know up north they're a lot more black, but down here those yellows, crazy. They're crazy.
So we can get some of the more yellow ones, but the large, I've never found one that wasn't melanistic.
Yeah.
Ever. Like, but yeah, we definitely get those here, but yeah, they're definitely far more melanistic here.
Yeah, for sure.
Since we're talking hog noses, I'm gonna see if I can find this picture real quick because I look like a freaking loser in it, but I don't care. It's one of my favorite pictures because it was funny. I found this snake, and I was working at the hunting plantation that I did my internship at for school, and hog noses have always been like pretty much my favorite native snakes. I absolutely love them.
They're solid. They're fire.
And it's right here. So I saw this hog, and it was jet black, and I was like, oh man, another racer, look at it. And it was shedding. It was literally in the middle of shedding, and I was like, that's really fat for being like really short. Then I was like, hold up. I actually got it. I got the picture here. Hold on. You guys are gonna make fun of me, but I don't care. This is awesome. I also look like a different person, but
Amazing.
yeah,
Amazing.
that was about 60 pounds ago. This was actually in 2015, 2014.
Damn, son.
It was a long time ago. And then, so this is how I found it, was like that. And so it was shedding, and I kept the skin. So I had the skin of the first hognose I ever found.
That's sick.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. But yeah.
What snake?
Yeah, that's my story.
Yeah. Fire.
That was
so yeah, for me, Southern Hog. Southern Hog this year, fantastic.
What about a lifer? Is there a lifer you're looking for other than the pine snake?
Oh, actually, yeah, I've been looking for striped crayfish.
Oh yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah.
Fuck
yeah. Yeah, and they're not hard to find. People do find them. I literally had someone who found them the same night that I went out in the same area.
Dude.
We just weren't like together. We were just cruising different spots. Yeah, and
That's
he found
the
one.
worst.
Great.
That's the worst.
Yeah,
do y'all have glossies down by you, or is it just striped?
Yeah, we do have glossies.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. But the striped is what I really want. It's just, I'm not like dying for it. It's just, it happens. It happens. Awesome. Yay. Take pictures.
Something to tick off.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah, fun one.
Well, for our final question, this is always the funnest one. We want, if you have one, we want your craziest or scariest story for being out in the field. We've had some bangers on here, so no pressure.
No pressure.
I had Dak throw a cottonmouth at me when we were in South Carolina. Do you guys remember that? I don't know if you guys were in the group, because
I wasn't there for that. That's
I'll go for that one.
That was when you guys were on the levee, right? And he like tossed
levee.
it up.
Yes. Oh my God.
I remember watching that.
I actually did that in the sky on accident with a copperhead.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That was an
So,
accident.
What is it? Devin brought a hook to go ahead and like in case he found fish or something. Um, and so we were in the back of the truck. We stopped by this levee. We see a cottonmouth, a northern cottonmouth, swimming in the water. We're like, let's go get it. So I grabbed the net, right? Zach is down there. He grabs a hook, right? And I don't know who it was, but it's like, just yank it out, right? Because it was coming towards us to get onto the land because he's been in the water for who knows how long. And so it's like, just yank it. He like launches it back, and I'm like, oh, with the net, just like trying to catch it. I did get it in there, and then we brought it up to somewhere safe. But I was like, oh, that could have gone so bad.
Wait, you caught it in the net?
In the net, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
remember we were trying to get it out of the net on the levee?
I wasn't there.
Yeah,
for that.
yeah.
I remember all that shit. That was fucking hairy.
Was
Yeah,
that
crazy.
giant one?
Yeah, remember? Because like
It was
we
a
all
big
got
one.
to the point where we're like, okay, there's 7 fucking flashlights around this snake, and it doesn't know what the fuck to do. We all just need to give it a fucking minute. Like,
Yep.
Yeah, that basically the same thing happened with me and Sky. I was trying. The copperheads don't ride a hook for shit, and it was like going down into a ditch, and I was trying to corral it with my hook, and Sky's like, "Just toss it up here." So I just like got it. It went whoop.
fucking right at you.
Yeeted it
That's
up there,
crazy.
dude. It was it
Crazy.
was bad. It wasn't my brightest moment.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't have too much.
Decisions were made.
I don't have too many scary moments. More just fun times,
That's
crazy
good.
things. I remember there's one picture in there of the Florida sand skink, and how that worked.
Is that really weird looking skink that you
It's a
sent
small,
me?
tiny skink. Yep.
It's like white.
It's in my hand. Yep.
Yeah.
Did you get it in North Florida or where?
South Florida. There's literally, well, I'll tell you later.
Yeah.
But we went to this area. Yeah, we went to this
thing's
area
crazy, dude.
specifically targeting this. Like my friend Chuck, he wanted to see one, so we were like, all right, bet, let's just go. Yeah.
It's so cool.
They're so cool. They spend most of their time within the Florida sand dunes, just like wiggling. They leave little tracks in the dirt or in the sand after them, and they're actually a threatened species as well. I don't know if that's because of obviously for habitat loss, but I don't know if it's also just really, really difficult to find these guys because it's literally finding a needle in a haystack, and it's literally finding a tiny 2-inch lizard in a field of sand. And so we're going. I'm a little further. We're going through the sand hills. We're not finding anything. It's like getting a little bit late where we're like, nah, we're probably not gonna find any. I'm going a little further with my girlfriend. My boyfriend came along, and then I hear all of a sudden like scream, and we're already downhill from a sand hill, but they're up behind it, right? So we can't even see them, and I hear snake, and so I was like, oh. So we're booking it up this sand hill, trying so hard to be faster than we were because that sand was just falling. And we're like, dang it, to a point where I was almost crawling up of it. And then I get closer and I hear skink, and I was like, oh no! And I into overdrive. I'm booking it to where they are. And
He's in 4-wheel drive on this thing.
I see him in the sand hill, in a little like patch of dirt, like with his hands cupped like this. He's like, it's in my hand. And so we're like sifting through it. Luckily, I had my little deli cup for bugs because we were able to just kind of dump it in there. And there he is. There he is wiggling around in the sand. And the way he found it is that he saw a little like hole next to an ant pile. And he was like, I wonder. So he starts digging a little bit and he sees like through the sand. He's like, oh, and he starts like, he just grabbed a pile of sand. He was like, it's in here.
It's like the freaking sand. It's like the freaking sandworms.
Yep.
From what was it? Like it just came out. Beetlejuice.
Yeah, from Beetlejuice. Yep. Yeah. The sandworms. They usually eat ants too, so like that was pretty cool to see it next to an anthill and stuff. And they also have little like you look at that and you think it's like a legless lizard. They have
That's exactly what I was about to ask. Are these little tiny legs on this thing?
Little tiny legs. And what's super cool, so you see that front leg and you see that like indented ridge on the side of the body.
Yeah.
So they will tuck the legs into those ridges to swim into the sand. Yeah.
That's
sand
awesome, man.
They're
that
crazy.
is I saw that picture and I was like, I need to ask him about that because that's the freaking gnarliest looking skink I've ever seen.
I am also the worst about posting. Like I sent you guys way more pictures than are even on my Instagram. But like I literally have a video of that skink like licking its eyeballs and licking around and just like kind of taste like just like a skink, just like a blue tongue skink licking around.
If you anybody listening to this outside of YouTube and not watching, at least come on here and look at this freaking skink, dude, because that is so cool.
Yeah, it is probably like, and yes, it was Chuck's find, but I still count it. Still lifer. Still saw it in my hand. Picture.
So are they only endemic to like South Florida, or are they like across the state?
They are limited to basically Central Florida. They do not exceed past, I would say, Ocala, Gainesville.
Oh, I thought you said you were in South Florida when you found
No. You're
in
it's
Central
south
Florida.
of where I live, but still, I would say it's still Central Florida.
Okay, yeah. Damn.
Yeah,
that's so cool.
They're close to. They're like near my region. Is why
I was about to say they seem like something that would be by you.
Yeah, I've found one before.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's why I'm like they're in my fucking region, but they're not. It's like he's saying, it's a fucking needle in a haystack. Fucking find.
Yeah,
that's
usually people find them on mistake.
You flip them on, or I was like a fucking random log, and I flipped, and that thing just into the fucking sand, and I was like, oh, what the hell was that?
Yeah. I'll give away some, like, I guess, strategies because, I mean, nobody's really into this, but what a lot of researchers will do to find these guys is they'll actually go out with rakes to try to, like, rake up some of that sand to, like, disturb and see if they can pull up any.
What if you sift for them like shark teeth? You know, get like a little thing in there.
Just get a bunch of things, sift it through. Yeah. You can try. They're fast little dudes too. Like the second we put him back, boom, gone immediately. And it was like, if we wanted to find that thing again, it's not happening.
Not happening.
Yeah.
Damn, man.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's a wild man, crazy.
Yeah.
And it is Florida endemic. A lot of people don't even know that this thing exists. You know.
That's awesome, man. Well, Tino, this has been an awesome episode, man. Give us your final closing thoughts. Somebody who hasn't gotten into field herping but is thinking about wanting to, you know, give us your final thoughts and why they should and some advice.
Yeah, I will say herping is the best part about being into reptiles. It really lost my camera for a second. It really is like the pinnacle of it. When you see a snake in habitat in the wild doing what it's supposed to be doing, it is an experience like no other. You know, and having the animals in cages and tanks in tubs, whatever it may be, it's so different from what they're supposed to be doing, and to see that and then improve your care based on what you're seeing. It's so pivotal. It's so important. You know, we owe it to the animals that we have for the fact that we have them at all. You know, if we want to justify keeping animals, we need to realize, hey, let's give them the best lives that they can. Then, you know, they're already here. They're not going back. Let's do the best we can with them. Let's do right by them. And I will also say, for a conservation standpoint, if you're not, and honestly, any standpoint in your life, politically, emotionally, relationships, whatever, if you're not a part of the solution, you're a part of the problem. You know, if you don't decide, hey, I'm going to do something about this, I'm passionate about this, you're just making it worse.
Awesome. Got to fight for your right.
Yep.
To party. Awesome, man. Well, with that, this has been absolutely fantastic. Where can people find you, Tino?
Mostly Instagram. I am on Facebook, but don't find me there.
I feel like more and more people are saying that. Like, they'll look me up on Facebook.
They'll look me up on Facebook. Yeah. I'm Constantino on Instagram, and that's basically it. I'm not anywhere else.
So it's constantly _Tino, right?
Yep. __. There's 2 underscores.
Oh.
Because the first underscore was taken.
Okay. Fancy. Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Sky, you got anything to close them out with?
No, just appreciate you for coming on, dude, and
thanks for having me, guys.
And letting people know that it is important to, you know, like you said, I think the biggest point that you made in this episode that really stuck with me and that resonated with me was that, you know, it's very easy to get overwhelmed with the bigger picture of everything. So doing something on your local level and, you know, something where you're going to see a reciprocation of your actions or money put in or time put in, I really like that, and it goes along with a lot of stuff that we've been pushing these last couple episodes with the herp societies and just getting more involved with your local groups and people and herpers, and all this is about making connections and growing this community as a we're only going to be as best as our weakest link, right? So we got to make sure we're all fucking strong links and we're all operating on the same level. So it's all about spreading this message of, if we're going to have nature in our home, okay, well, we don't just need to have a sliver of it. If you're going to have nature in your home, you need to have fucking nature in your home and do it right. Because, like you said, these are animals in our homes. We're technically responsible for everything that they go through.
Yep.
So it matters on the deepest level, as much as everyone likes to live on this. It's just a snake in a box thing. Yeah, it's a snake in a box because you put that snake in a box.
So do right by it.
So do right by it. So I think that's been the biggest resonating point with this whole episode is like you said, get involved, even on the smallest level. Just get involved, because it'll at least give you some self-purpose, some self-worth.
Yeah.
And like I said, we just appreciate you. And we're gonna be getting out soon since we're so close. We need to go hit that spot again since the weather's better.
Absolutely.
But October, we definitely need to go road cruising. And then I'm already planning a salamander trip for some tiger salamanders here in a couple months. So since you're local, that would be sick if we tapped and do that together.
Sure,
Get some interaction going.
Let's plan a Hogtober trip out to you guys. I'll drive down sometime in October and we'll make it happen.
Your Florida State.
I guess at this point I gotta start making a Florida list too, because I herp there as much as I herp here. So
for sure, dude.
Do it, man.
Thanks, guys, for having me. For sure.
Yeah, thank you, man. And with that, we'll hit y'all with our closing remarks, and that is: look and you will see, read and you will learn, think and you will know. That's from the rattlesnakes of the United States and Canada. All right. Good night, everybody. Thank you for listening.
Knowledge is power.
Knowledge is power, baby. All right.
Thank you,
Thank you, guys.
Thank y'all.